Hey, Richard. Todd. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and get things set up here. There we go. Ah. All right, we're pinned to the top. Hey, Sarah, Roy, Todd. Todd. Just didn't hear anything from Bob. Figured I'd jump on. Hey there, Alex. Good to see you. Hey, JB. Get my stuff set up here. Hey, Philip. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And depending on where you live at, it was raining here this morning, but it quit by 11 o'clock. Yay, Alex. You just sold another 55 gallons of honey. You're rich. That's great. Good to hear that, Alex. All right, somebody come on in. Help me out here if you would. Hey, Sandy. Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving, Sandy. Where's JB at? You slip in here, did he? Oh, yeah, I see. Hey, George. You're in the freezer, aren't you? It's supposed to get cold here Saturday, getting in the 30s for a high. I went and was able to get a perfect day for here. It was overcast. It rained, stopped around 11ish. And I was able to get out to my hives right behind me there and give them another oxalic acid vapor treatment. So it's snowing out there, Western Maryland, Sandy. How about that? I'll have to take a look at the weather out that way. It's not really doing much of anything here. It's not supposed to do anything over the weekend. It's supposed to get dry again. Lennox. I thought that went out the door years ago. So you're back to the old panda bear, are you? So, so that's what I did today. Got them all vaporized. Got all the IPM boards cleaned off the night before dark. So I didn't have to do that today. Roy's looking at 1 to 2 feet. I think he's up there in Michigan, I believe Roy is. Yep, northern Michigan. So she's coming this way, Sandy, to me. Everything's good here as far as I know. They said that 20 years ago, Alex, that they're going to gain traction. I ain't seen it yet. Really? I didn't know that, Sandy. Huh. Well, the snow ought to be good for you because I know that your husband has the store there for Wisp and all that ski lodge. Hopefully, there's a lot of skiers out there maybe this weekend, or it has been in the last week or not. So when it was snowing out there, I think it was last week. Snow guns. Okay. That's cool. So what, you have a good Thanksgiving, Philip, out there in Texas? Is it still warm? Hmm. Oh, I've been doing pretty good, Alex. Absolutely, Sandy. If you're only 30 minutes from the house, absolutely stop by. Give me a call. 46 degrees. I think it was 40. I got done around 12:30 today. It was 48 degrees then. Um, I've been doing all right, Alex. As everybody can see behind me there, I winterized my hives. Here comes Roy. He's out in the bee house.
the dirty wood shop.
Yeah, we got your vacuum lines over there. We need a tour of the wood shop.
Oh, good God! Wait till I get cleaned up in there.
A cleaned up wood shop is not what the hell we got here.
Oh, raccoon!
Coon
I
eyes.
feel kind of weird tonight. I don't know. I think I had too much food. I'm in a food coma. Oh wait, I don't have my glasses on. Hang on. All right, there we go. That better?
Hey, Tom. Keith. Oh my. But now a clean shop is not a real wood shop, you know?
Well, I must have a real workshop then. Believe me, I kind of taken the last, kind of got burned out after this bee season, and I got to start getting some stuff done for next year. So getting there, just putting it off, a little procrastination for a little bit.
Yeah. What are you building in your wood shop, Philroy?
Oh, I'm gonna start making some two-way pallets for spring. Just a little easier to move for me for a couple out yards. I've got one that's coming up, and
Look at there.
my
You got that piece.
daughter-in-law
You got
wants
that
some.
Panda Bear operating system to work.
Oh,
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can
No.
hear you, Alex.
All right. Like I said, I'm not completely done installing all the things I need for getting Linux to run. But,
Like you got it running now.
well, yeah.
So 55 gallons you
Yeah,
say? Did you hear that, Todd?
Yeah,
He
I heard
sold
that.
55 gallons of honey, finally.
yeah, that's a
Now,
total of
you sell it as a barrel at buckets?
buckets because I can't move a barrel by hand.
No, that's what I figured. Hey there, Pastor Larry. So how did you get rid of that? You go to a wholesaler?
It's the same beekeeper that lost a lot of bees during the summer.
Okay. All
So
right.
he ordered a 10-gallon, like 10 5 gallons earlier, and then he called me back last Friday and asked for more. And since he traded me in 6-gallon buckets, like I asked, look, dude, I have one extra 5 gallon left. If you want me, I can top off all the way to 6 because 6 gallon do not fit under my extractor. So I would fill a 5 with a spigot at the bottom, then just transfer it to a 6.
Well, I mean, here, I mean, that's all we
But
use. I use 5-gallon buckets.
yeah, but the guy uses 6s. So I
Yeah.
asked, "Do you mind me filling up like the last 5 gallons into those 6s?" And he said, "Go ahead." So a total of 55 gallons sold.
So what's your next purchase?
My next purchase is refunding the money my brother loaned me.
So did you pay off your extractor and all that stuff?
Well, everything's paid off. All that's left is interest less money my brother loaned me. I owe him 2,500, and I should be able to give a good chunk back.
Oh, that's good.
I'll keep myself. I need new glasses because these ones are getting like pretty scratched up. So I'll keep some money for myself.
Don't you have socialized medicine up there?
Yeah.
Isn't that free? Isn't that free for you
No,
guys?
not eyes, not teeth.
Huh?
If you need eyes and teeth aren't covered by medical insurance, like the like the countrywide social, not social, but medical insurance. So I have, sorry, I still have a cold. I do have insurance from work. So and I there's a place called Zenny Optical, like these and these cost me 100 and something Canadian dollars. It's really cheap. The eye exam is like $80, and that I can get through the insurance. But the glasses, I'm not sure I'll even bother because it's chump change. Because buying at the optometrist, it's like these were over 700.
I'll be right back. I forgot my wax is going. I'll be right back.
All right.
So brand new glasses. I'll finish paying off. Also, this computer, this new computer, I'll finish paying it off. I have a few $100s left to pay, and my brother's gonna get a huge chunk of what I owe him back. That's gonna make a nice Christmas gift for him.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I mean, maybe you can kind of hook it up with this guy that you've been selling to.
Oh yes, I've been sorry.
Hey, Mike.
Freaking cold.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost completely gone. I just have this random coughing still. Well,
Hey.
yeah, the guy is like he's been beekeeping for like a bit longer than I have, maybe 5 or 6 years longer. So I've been asking him questions, especially where like selling the stuff, keeping bees alive. I no longer have much of a difficulty with that. It's the selling part.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is if you can get your foot in the door with him, like you've already had here,
That's
say,
why
hey, I'll produce honey, and you can just pay me a wholesale price and take it from there.
Yeah, that's what I do. I ask him, like, I looked up wholesale prices and give him something slightly better. So
Yeah, I know you had told me you were getting a little bit better than wholesale, which is, hey, that's fine. That's, you know, you got money, you got cash flow. Cash flow, that's the main thing. You got cash flow, you can start, you know.
And I still have like 12 pills left. I'll keep a few for myself, and I'll mention, like, dude, I still have 10 I could sell you.
Well, just say, hey, I got some more honey. You know, if you need more, I've got some more to sell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jack and Danette, I came on. I figured everybody was going to have some beekeeping chat withdrawals. So back to with you, Roy. So you're making bee two-way pallets and any boxes. You ever try to do any of that stuff?
Well, I've made
You
my
got-
own boxes in the past. I just find it easier to buy them in
Yep.
there. I got all set up for, running the jigs and everything else, but it's fun. I make a few, but it just was cheaper to buy them last year. So I bought a skid, and that was 100 boxes. And then I had some I built and bought along the way.
Hey, Brian.
I can get them,
Yeah.
shipped, but
Yeah. It's yeah. Hey, Barn Hero.
can't find wood cheap enough. I mean, I can find some rough lumber stuff, but I don't know how dry it is really, and hate to build them and have them start splitting.
Yeah. Hey, Scott. Um, yeah. That's the thing. It's like myself in the lumber business. When it comes to pine, I can make a phone call and make it. I mean, I can buy better quality stuff at a good price and then resell it at a good price. Hey, Alex, something that I've been doing this year, and I never really believed in it, but I take a vitamin C vitamin C pill every day.
What I've been doing is drinking lemon water.
Yeah, well, and you might
Take
try
like
I've
2 or
heard
3
honey
lemons,
out too.
dunk them in water. That gives me vitamin C, and it's the sore throat's gone, but it's also mild disinfectant, and then with honey, it's even better.
Well, all I know is I mean, I don't like getting sick, period, and I don't think anybody else does. And I started doing vitamin C along with some of my other vitamin packs that I do, and I've been lucky. It's been
Me too. I haven't had a cold since 2019. Actually,
really.
that's the first time in
You
like
haven't been
just
out of the
under
house
4 years, just over 4 years. So
You haven't been
it
out of
was
the house
nice.
for over 4 years.
Huh?
You haven't been out of the house for over 4 years.
Yeah, I'm a hermit. Almost. I did go to the U.S. a few.
Yeah, I
at
did.
the
You
end
did
of October.
escape out of Quebec over in here for a little while.
Yeah, I went to get some
You're a rock
crystals with a
picking.
friend.
Yeah, there you go. Got so. Oh, I like that stuff.
That's
That's
amethyst.
so. What is that kind of rock?
Amethyst.
Amethyst.
Amethyst. It's a purple crystal. Sorry to
I
see
thought
because the lighting
I
is
thought it
not
was a
great.
geo. I thought they called them geos. They have
Yes,
that
it's
rock.
an amethyst geode. I also have like really small gem. It's
Okay.
green, but
Yeah, there I see a little bit. There you go.
that's a tourmaline. Yeah, I
Mhm.
went to it's called Mica Mountain in Maine.
Okay.
So it was about a 5-hour drive, 4.5.
Hey, Rick. Hey, Rick. You down in Florida, I guess. I was going to ask. Let's see, what was it I was going to ask? Oh, with your bees up there, I'm sure you're all winterized now. You got your insulation coverings on and all that stuff.
Yeah, everything's on. Sorry, I'm coughing my lungs out.
Okay. Hey, Lloyd. There's my partner in crime when it goes down to Georgia getting bees.
Well, I just wanted to stop on and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and jump back into the other chat. So hopefully
What
everybody
other
had a
chat?
great day. What's that?
What other chat? This is the other chat.
Oh, just a side chat in there.
Oh, the heck with that.
At
You
least
stay
not
right-
Thanksgiving
Yeah,
over
'cause
here.
this is more fun. Stay right where you're
This is
at.
more fun. You know
Okay,
that?
I'll stay for a little bit. You can watch a fat old man on camera.
Rick's still out in Kentucky. I thought he'd be down there in Florida. There's Brad from up in Canada there.
Hey, Brad.
Alec, I didn't hear how much honey you got left.
Honey, I got about 60 gallons left. I might keep 10, try and build my own plants. But if the guy wants more, I won't hesitate to sell it. Because he's giving me $4.23 a pound. So basically, I sell at the bulk prices, like if I were a bulk provider. Because if I sell to a bulk provider, like I got $1.50 offer, so I said no.
$1.50?
Yeah,
Forget that.
yeah, pretty much. So yeah, 423 is much better.
Doesn't he pay for the pail?
Yeah.
Yeah, like like no, I'm not. Yeah, it's pretty good, huh?
That's what Brad says. He's up there with you guys in Manitoba. Hey Rick, you say you're in Kentucky right now. Is your bees in Florida now? I'm sure. I thought you had had your bees moved down in Florida by now. Talking to Rick Sutton.
He's probably up for the holidays.
Well, maybe that's maybe you're up for the holidays. I'm not sure. If you got a computer with a camera there, Rick, come on in here if you can. Just click the link and type in your name and whatever, and we'll love to have you on. So, and Brian from out in Colorado, hope everything was good out there today. I guess you have a little bit of snow out there. I guess you've had some, I know. And Phil, 33 Mile Bees, where you been at? You've been running trains all the time. You haven't been able to get in. I know you always work a lot.
I bet he's been working.
So, Roy, you're going to Nobby, right?
Yeah, I'm coming down on the 1st.
Roy, where are you at again?
I'm in northern Lower Michigan, on the lake here, or the Lake Michigan side.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Nancy.
We're gonna get. It's already a couple inches out there now. It just started snowing an hour ago, so we should have quite a bit here by morning.
Wow.
It's the first year I put my blower in for my tractor instead of digging it out of the snow ditch. So I thought I'd be a little proactive this year.
We've been lucky for snow here in Quebec. There's barely been any, and it's all melting as soon as it falls. I remember last year this time there was like half a foot of snow.
So you got that heavy insulation on with that little top that you can pull off, and then you can feed them and all that stuff.
Yeah, and also gave them Api tablets.
I am. I hope
when I closed the hive off in October, I only had 30 out of 33, but I'm not gonna order another pack for just 3 hives. Like not Tad, but Brad suggested I put them straight on the top bars. The first batch I forgot to do that, so I put them inside the feeders. You've seen them when I open them, and the second one they are on the top bar like Brad suggested. So I'll see if it makes a difference. But like the grid above the top bars, there's like less than half, and like the thickness of the Epi tablet. So I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. And all that. Well, that's good. And I'm sure you treated with other products too prior to the winter.
Yeah, I did. I did a treatment. I started with Formic. Then when the Formic ended, I gave them all one blast of
OA.
like a heavy blast of OA. And then when like I said, when I closed them off, I gave them all one Api tablet.
Yeah, I got some tablets at the convention, and I put them on. And then
transmitting from your shed.
Cold
I
in
can
here.
see the red glow.
and I've been vaping them. I'm on my third vaporization. I hit them about every 2 weeks, depending on weather. Now it's going to start getting cold and all that. So I've checked. I checked my mite drops today. There's nothing, no real great big number of them. Just a, you can still see there's dropping a few. So how's Brad doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Trying to stay busy. Trying to not get too lazy.
Yeah.
That big
Come on,
harvest
winter
push
time
kind
is
of wears
lazy
me
time
out.
for beekeepers.
Well, that harvest time wears me out, and then it's too easy just to drop everything and not do anything. But there's still lots to do, so I'm in the wood shop now.
So you got your bees in the winter shed, and you got
Yeah.
your bees out in your in the yard out there.
Yeah.
How did you wrap those foam shells or bee cozies?
2-inch polystyrene panel screwed to the side.
Yeah, the sun will eat those if you don't protect.
Oh yeah, the sun is going to eat those bad. Yeah,
Because I tried
Really?
that on the first year.
I
made
can
shells,
always tell who doesn't watch my videos.
I
Yeah,
don't
so
watch
here's
it much.
the
Sorry.
short story on that, Alex. is this is a prototype. This is a prototype to see, if it's a viable solution for me. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but it's just something to do for now. And but it's not the end game. The end game is possibly polystyrene boxes, like what Doug is experimenting with.
Yeah,
Because
those look
that's what I'd
good.
like to do, just to save work. Just to make things a little less work going into the future.
Yeah, because you can just leave them out as is.
Yeah, don't touch them. So, yeah, here's something that happened too in my way I was thinking about that. I was thinking, the first stage is to just winter some outdoors here in polystyrene boxes, and then hey, I don't have to wrap them, I don't have to unwrap them, I don't have to store wraps, et cetera, et cetera. And then a light bulb went on. I thought, well, if I'm doing that, I could actually winter bees at my out yard. And then that would eliminate moving bees around to and from the out yards. So that'll save even more work.
Hey, Brad, what's the cost difference between the polystyrene and just the pine boxes?
It really depends on what you buy, but what I've found is if you add the cost of a winter wrap to a brood chamber, you're looking at a polystyrene box.
Oh, okay.
It's very similar. It's very similar pricing. If you factor in the cost of wrap, the wrap itself, and that will vary a lot depending on what you use to wrap and what polystyrene boxes you buy, because they're not all priced the same. So, but they're pretty close. You're not paying a lot. It looks like they're expensive, because they're like $50 or something like that. But when you factor in the wrap is built in, and then maybe not a big economic savings, but you're not storing all those winter wraps all the time, which is a real pain, right? And the bees actually, in my experience, the bees really do well in polystyrene.
And besides, you don't have to have all your boxes made of polystyrene. All you really need is your brood chamber.
The honey supers will still be wooden boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wintered over with those and split them into spring and just use them for the winter boxes, they pay themselves off pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, they will. Yeah. So we'll see.
I was looking at the insulated boxes, and there's that, I don't know, the ones that they make a fancy stand that you can put them on. And I think they're more plastic on the outside, but they do have handholds on the sides of them. But when you try to vape in any of those, you got plastic or whether you got polystyrene, you got a melting problem there.
Yeah, you do.
How can you get around that?
Well, a couple things. There you can do homemade solutions. There are a couple things. The Instant Vap that I use, they provide a little silicone tube you can put over the tip that'll protect the polystyrene from the hot tube. So you can do that. When Doug Doug uses those, and he made himself a cover.
That's right. He did. He talked about
Yeah.
blowing the smoke down in.
So his cover is just a square cover. It kind of looks like what you might think of as an inner cover. It's not like a migratory cover. It has cleats on the ends. It's just a flat cover. And so he has the entry for the OA tube in the cover, and it's a 4-sided hole. It's not a 3-sided hole, so you can just stick it right in that 4-sided hole and vaporize that way. So that's that's a good solution.
Yeah, that was a pretty good solution. And now a lot of people think, or I don't know, that the vapor goes down, it'll drop more so than it goes up.
Well, I've seen tests that showed that it goes down. But it'll go up too, right? If you blow that into a hive, it'll go up too. So it's not a big issue whether you put it in the bottom or the top. Really, it'll permeate.
Well, now if you take let's say you got an insulated hive, would you figure on just doing singles, overwintering outside like that, or would you be
Well,
better
again,
off?
I don't know, because I'm really looking to Doug because he's testing all that right now in those boxes. He's got some doubles, he's got some singles in those polystyrene boxes now. So I'm really watching his operation closely. And if things turn out well for him, maybe I'll place an order with that place this coming spring and get some boxes in and check them out.
Are those broke down boxes, or are they solid mold?
Yeah, this is Beaver Plastics, I think it's called, in Edmonton, and it's a 1-piece box. So they're a little more money to ship because they don't break down at all. And I think they're too big to nest because they're 1.5 inches. I don't think they'd nest.
How do they work well with wood, as far as mixing,
Yeah, well, Doug said he put his wooden supers on top and worked fine. I've done that too. I've had polystyrene Paradise boxes, and I just put the wooden supers on top. It's fine. So I do have a little bit of experience with the polys. I've never wintered them outdoors. But
Do the boxes?
I know a guy who has.
Have handles that basically thin out the.
It has a handle similar to the wooden box,
and it doesn't affect the heat loss too much.
Well, I mean, it would, right? But it's these handles. The handles on the Paradise boxes I had are really big, but these boxes, the handles are quite small.
Hey, Melanie.
It's going to limit that.
Well, I can tell you from my experience, I had a licensed 6-frame nuke, and I overwintered a 6 frames over top of 6 frames, fully insulated, no upper entrance, no upper ventilation. Down in the bottom, there was 4 holes for ventilation. I plugged 3 out of the 4 up, and of course you had the front entrance, which had like a kind of like a mouse guard, a sliding thing. It was like a mouse guard. And hey, Chris, this is the No Life Beekeeper Group. And it worked great. They didn't, it was a condensing hive. They kept through the winter very well. They didn't eat a ton of food. I mean, they got through the winter with those 6 frames up on top full of honey, no problem. And all in all, it was a good hive, but you had to be, I had my Provat vaporizer, and I had to make up a piece of like 1/4 inch plywood, a jig, you might say, to put up against the front of the hive to blow the vapor in that way. Sounds like what Doug has got is definitely the way to go. A little more rugged and everything.
I had thought to adapt the OA vaporizer to my polystyrene boxes. Those 6 framers I have, there's
Mhm.
actually, where are they? Down here. These are poly 6s right here.
Right.
And I kind of thought maybe I could take a hole saw and cut a plug out of a 2x4 or something that's the same thickness as the wall of the polystyrene,
Right.
and then use the same hole saw, bore a hole in the polystyrene, use a 2 or 2.5 inch plug or something, and then use spray foam to seal the wooden plug in the hole, and then you'd have a wooden entry point for the OA vaporizer.
Yeah.
That will work.
It sounds
I'm sure it would work great.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, when you're done, because you used a hole saw, you've already got a hole in the middle. Right?
You could also use a Forstner bit.
Well, yeah, but you got to use a hole saw to cut the plug, right?
Yeah, true.
And the thing is, a hole saw is always going to drill a smaller plug than it drills a hole, and that's what you want, because you're going to use a little bead of spray foam to glue the thing in there. So you need a little bit of a gap for that. You might even need more of a gap than that, to be honest, to get that in there. But the theory is there. It should work.
Yeah, it would. It will work. Not should, it will.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
You would think that all these here box companies would be thinking about that, and putting some type of an adapter built into their system for the blowing smoke in there with a Provat or something, Insenvat, Provat, whatever.
Someone mentioned Vino Farm Jim in the chat, and I admire him for his thought process on how he built this bee barn kind of a thing and whatnot, and because he explains his thought process, and I appreciate that. He's pretty good at explaining what he's thinking, and what he had come up with in his head pretty much is a carbon copy of what I've been thinking about, how what the bees want for a home sort of thing. And turns out his weather is not much different than mine. His winters are pretty severe. But on the other hand, boy, sometimes he overthinks it and he reinvents the wheel.
He's having fun. Like, Jim is the reason I got into beekeeping.
He invented this great bee barn. It's a really great invention. It's fairly well made, well designed and everything. And he got it all done. And I thought, you could have gone and bought a couple of polystyrene boxes, and you'd have spent the rest of your summer playing with the grandchildren or something, right? But
exactly,
the fact that he reasoned that whole thing out, that was pretty impressive. It was really, and his implementation of what he had reasoned out and his results were really good. So kudos to Jim for that, for reinventing the wheel.
Well, I don't think I remember I was watching his thing because I started watching because he had the what's he call it, the hive with the spigots on the back, and then finally that went by the wayside and said, hey, it just doesn't work in his climate. And he didn't know anybody. He did, somebody said, yeah, you need to go watch Michael Palmer and, kind of educate yourself a little bit more, because he doesn't sound like he went to the local bee club or anything of that nature. And he was kind of self-education. And
So am I.
what?
I'm
And
self-taught as well.
anyway,
I didn't
it's like he did gather information quickly enough, but like you say, Brad, it's like you could have learned all that a while back.
Well, and that's kind of a danger. Like, he's an intelligent guy, and that's a danger when you're a pretty intelligent person. You love to think about these things and reason things out. Is that unknowingly you reinvent things that already exist that you might have just seen in the environment had you had given yourself a little more exposure to other beekeepers and other ways of doing things. But boy, he came up with the and Darren made the point there in the comments. He reinvented the Layens hive. It sort of is. It's a 10-frame Layens hive. I don't know that he reasoned out that he should have these deep frames, but I think it made it necessary because he wanted to have 2 deep boxes because they were so chunky and it was kind of an integrated system. He had to have a deep frame, and he since learned that he really likes the deep frames. But yeah, he reinvented the Layens hive.
And then he had those frames. What was it, printed out? Where they, you could buy double deep plastic foundation to go with it and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that.
He doesn't do anything in a small way. You got to admire him for that. He's not just going halfway. He's taking it all the way with this. That's really awesome.
So,
yeah, I do have a good deal of admiration for the guy. Like I said, he's the reason I got into beekeeping. I kind of sad that he stopped making video, but then again, I understand it's because I stopped as well. But yeah, I'm really grateful for what he did. I learned a lot from him.
He's got good powers of observation, right? Sorry, Roy.
Oh no.
No, that's all right.
I started beekeeping in 2019.
In on this.
Oh, good God! This is the bread guy.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Every time
everyone.
Roy starts talking, somebody else drops in, and we change to somebody else. So you started in 2019, you said, Roy?
Yeah, I started in 2019, but then COVID hit eventually, and I never had a mentor, so
it's tough to make those connections. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of been learned from everything I can read, and then met up with you guys, and been kind of nice gleaning some information off you. But I mean the whole group, but you get overload by the end of the night. I've come up with 12 more ideas that I want to try. So,
isn't it something? I think back to the 1970s, on when you had a passion like beekeeping or whatever it might be. How do you network, right? How do you network with people? You can essentially network with periodicals, right? So magazines and newsletters, and people in your fairly local area that you can physically have gatherings with, once a month or whenever, the bee clubs, right? That was your networking. And now I'm learning from people all over the world.
Yeah.
Because I have
pretty amazing.
I have YouTube now.
Yeah.
The
YouTube, I wouldn't have been beekeeper.
The challenge isn't with YouTube having enough people to interface with. The challenge is separating the wheat from the chaff. So each system has its own challenges, obviously, but I remember having passions like that even in the 80s. And it was, I think back now and I think, how did I ever do that? How did I ever learn anything about this subject? Because there
would have been
internet.
A VHS tape on it back then.
There was no internet, let alone YouTube.
Maybe
you know,
even
and
beta.
live chats, right? To get to know people in person. It was, I can imagine it now.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, how are you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you.
So, Brad, I wanted to mention to you that I'm the one. I mentioned the bee barn, and Jim from Vino Farm was a big inspiration for me when I first started learning to beekeep, and I took two things from him. One, I run quilt boards year round, 365 days for me. So he started out doing that as well. And then the way he kept the bees out of the quilt board was he just took a piece of coroplast and put some number 8 hardware cloth over it, and he put that over the whole of the inner cover. And I do the same thing. So those are the two things that I took from him and I'm still using those in my apiary. But I remember when he came full circle on it and created his first bee barn, and which was mostly wood. And he basically was like, the whole time he was learning to beekeep and building his apiary and kind of engineering it, I always think of him as like if you know who Alton Brown is, he's this like Food Network cook, but it's all about the science of the cooking, and he just goes into like great details about science of cooking. And I always think of Jim like as the Alton Brown of beekeeping. And he was always talking about ventilation. It was always about ventilation, ventilation, ventilation. And then, he would put the, burlap in his quilt boards and stuff in the winter. And again, like that's what I took from that, incorporated into my own beekeeping. And then when he built the first bee barn, he basically was saying, he learned that the bees actually don't want ventilation, right? Like they actually want the opposite. And now, of course, the Bee Barn 2.0 basically has no ventilation whatsoever. I mean, it's as closed up as closed up can be. And now I'm still running in that same configuration, and I don't have any problems with it. But I'm in southern Pennsylvania, like about my bee yard's like maybe 4 or 5 miles from the Maryland border, so in the center of the state. So actually not far from Charlie. So I have a very different winter than what Jim does, and I would agree with what you had said earlier. Jim has absolutely brutal winters in the part of Massachusetts that he lives in. So it's very different for me. So my bees haven't really rejected the ventilation that I provide for them. Although they do they do narrow down that opening in the coroplast with a lot of propolis, and they definitely take it down. They don't completely seal it over, but they do take it down a little bit. So they definitely are looking to, cut the ventilation a little bit, but I would probably never use the bee barn configuration, and I again would not probably rethink how I those two aspects of running the quilt boards and providing that ventilation year round for them, just because it's been working really well for me. But I did find it kind of interesting that he was able to determine, again, for his bees, he was able to determine that his original thought that the bees needed more ventilation than what an original, just a standard Langstroth hive would provide. Now he's kind of come full circle and basically, has determined that at least his bees don't really need any ventilation. So.
I'm of the opinion that the discussion on ventilation.
Move your mic up,
Very.
Brad. Go ahead. See.
I'm of the opinion that the discussion on ventilation has a lot of regional variables, climate related variables. One of the most dramatic examples would be DC out in the Pacific Northwest. You know, I would rather try to keep my bees warm in a Manitoba winter than try to keep my bees dry in a Washington winter. Because how do you keep bees dry? I can keep them warm. I can give them enough insulation. I can put them in my building. But how do you keep them dry? Even put them in a building, it's still going to be humid. So I agree with kind of what your conclusions were and what Jim's conclusions were and what the idea of condensing hive, et cetera, again with the blanket statements that this one thing is true in every case. I would caution, I don't know, and I'm still undecided in my climate what is best. I know what works, and what works is a small amount of ventilation. Necessary, I haven't tested that yet. So
now
that's all I can say there.
Now, Brad, you had pre-experience with the quilt box, and you've been building the newer ones. My question: what do? Take the migratory lid off and put that box on top as a lid?
Yeah.
Now you have screening in there, and then you put chips in there.
That's right.
And then I guess you're going to put burlap or something, maybe
just wood chips.
Just wood chips.
Yeah.
And then you put
wood
your lid
shavings correctly. Wood shavings.
Shavings,
is a little finer
okay,
than wood chips.
Right. Regular planer shavings.
Yeah.
And then put your migratory on top of that box.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering how that configuration was.
I actually ventilate that near the top. So 2 inches from the top of that box, I have 6 2-inch holes in that box on the sides. So it's got ventilation around the top. So the air can percolate through the shavings and escape through those holes. I don't know how much does.
Mine's very similar. Mine's very similar to that. I'm using I'm just basically using shallows that I drilled. I think, what do I have in there? I have 2 holes on each side of a shallow, and then I built a just almost like a 2-inch shim that has hardware cloth over the top of it, and it fits the circumference of the inner cover, and it sits over that. And then I just fill that area with sugar, so it's kind of like a mountain camp. And then on top of that, through the rest of the quilt board, I just put a rolled up piece of burlap in it, and then I just have a normal telescoping outer cover on it, and then I ratchet strap them closed. And then, that's how so it's very similar. And then of course those holes, the air keeps that burlap dried out. And the burlap, basically takes up any moisture and keeps it, and the sugar, and keeps it from,
out of a deep. It's much deeper. So
so I had originally made my own eeks, which were much more much more shallower, but I got lazy this time around, and I just thought I would take a shallow medium, and because they were already pre-built, and all I had to do is drill holes in them and staple some hardware cloth over the holes, and
so
that's done.
You described it, Charlie. It's another deep. Like take the lid and everything right off. And you should have seen me do that. I didn't even video it because it was cold and I was in a hurry to do it. It was -7, I think, out there, no sun. And I was opening these hives up completely, buck naked. I mean, I wasn't buck naked. The bees. Right?
Oh God, I got a picture of my head.
Don't picture that. You won't sleep for a week.
-7, guys, is 19 degrees.
So yeah, so I had my smoker going, and I couldn't wear gloves because I was handling the red tape to tape the seams and the whole thing. So I was using my smoker to keep my hands warm, smoking my hands to keep them warm. And so I take the cover and that foamy thing off of there. And then, the bees weren't too crazy. And then I just put that quilt box on top, and there's 1 inch of space between the bottom of the quilt box and the screen. And then I have a small upper entrance built right into the bottom edge of the quilt box. It's a 7/8 wide and 3/8 high, or a 1/2 inch high. And so, and then, yeah, then I put wood chips, shavings in the box, and then just put that foamy and migratory cover back on top. So it looks like I'm running triple deeps out there.
What I like about running the quilt boards all year long is, one, I don't have to figure out where to store them on the times I'm not using them, because they're just on there all the time. And then, when I'm not using them, that space is dead area, and I don't have any trouble getting the lids off because they can't get to them and propolize them down. So they come off really easy for me when I need to get in there. And then when I'm feeding syrup, that whole area just houses my feeder. I have these plastic rectangle. They hold about a little more than a gallon. They have this cone in the middle of them with like a cap over top of it that has holes in it for ventilation. So all the condensation that they create during syrup feeding times literally just hits the top of that and falls into the syrup. So it does dilute the syrup a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but so those fit perfectly down inside there as well. So I just pull the coroplast piece off and put those down on it. And then when I'm taking the feeders off, I just put the coroplast back down on it. And then in the wintertime, like I said, I just put those, I call them sugar cages, but I just put the sugar cage in there and pour the sugar in around and put the burlap on top of it and throw the lid on it. So basically, it works really well for me. I think that's one of the, pillars of beekeeping. You're right. Not everything works for everybody. Figure out what works for you. And then, that's where you go from there. So.
Uncle Bob.
Yes, sir.
Nice to see you.
Good to see y'all. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, all you people, except Alex.
What's up with the wrist?
I don't know. Just getting old, and hand and wrist are messed up. So I put a brace on it. Keep me from moving it the wrong direction. But it's funny. You guys are talking about quilt boards, and I got full frames of brood out in my bee yard right now. So it's definitely geographic location, right? That makes a big difference on everything. But we're just keeping them fed and trying to get them through.
You're locked up.
Little tiny bits of put out the sub.
How cold are you going to get down there?
It's been in the 30s few nights.
You keep freezing up, Bob.
Yeah, he's freezing up.
Got a bad connection tonight.
Yeah, usually doesn't do that.
No.
Let me see.
He's remedying that situation.
His audio.
As we speak.
Let me see. So the next 2 nights, it's going to get down to low 29. And then 30. So, high 20s, low 30s right now. And then during the day, it can be
pretty cold for you.
65, 70 during the day usually. So still got some flight and stuff happening, but that's the thing. Like it could be next week, it could be in the 70s for a low. It seems like, and just kind of stay that 60s and 70s. So it just goes all over the place. But we only get a January. I'll be, last year it was December. I was putting pollen patties on to get them ramped up for spring. So we'll see.
Get them ready for spring in December.
Yeah, that's it. Gotta keep them fed up. Try to get them strong so I can make some splits this year.
I'm getting them ready for spring in April.
Did you guys see Matt's video today on the fondant?
I did.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll ever make some, but I might. It would take a lot of. The problem is with that is making it takes a long time. I know how long it takes to boil off that sugar.
Yeah,
And
I've done it
and
too.
when you can't make a batch that's really very big, how do you make a large amount of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
You could work at that for months,
yeah.
batch after batch.
What do you say? A 20-pound batch makes 12 pounds or something like that, I think it was.
Uh,
Fondant. In the comments he had on his video today, someone asked him a
should be
question.
similar because you're really just boiling off the water.
Let me look it up. But
What do you make? What are you making? Candy bars or?
Fondant.
Fondant.
Matt was talking about his fondant
Tried
the other night.
tried making that once, didn't go out at all.
Matt from
Matt's video.
Sandy Valley
Oh, I
Honey Company.
might see where maybe things went wrong.
I don't know. I just go and call Golden Barrel up and say 50-pound blocks if you want it.
Yeah, it's all too tricky for me too. That's one of the reasons why I do mountain camp. So
What's
it's just
your,
easier.
What's the pricing on that, Charlie? Is it affordable?
Yeah, I forget what it was. $30 for a block of it, a 50-pound. I bought 1 or 2 blocks of it over the years, and it's just too messy for me.
Okay.
So he said in the comment, 10 pounds of sugar makes 12.5 pounds of fondant. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
Well,
He
don't you
has
have to put
water.
powdered sugar in it as well?
No,
No.
just water and vinegar.
Water, distilled vinegar, and sugar. And then he adds Apis and a little bit
He
of
added some
Black
supplements, but
yeah.
Let's see.
But it does take a long time to get that sugar to 230 or
Yep.
232, whatever it is.
I make caramels every winter at Christmas time, and it takes forever to. It's just exactly the same process, and it
Yeah.
takes forever standing there stirring that thing, watching it boil over. It's fun. Something to do with the honey, right?
Yeah,
I thought it was a long time
it's better than watching paint dry.
I thought it was a long time to wait for that oxalic acid to fall out into the vegetable glycerin when you heat it up. And that's nothing compared to how long it takes that sugar to invert. It's a long time.
My wife said, buy an electric griddle or hot plate and do it out in the barn. She didn't want me in the house anymore. So, everything's at the experiment station.
That's good.
That's where it should be. Otherwise, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, I didn't use Ultra B. I bought a 50-pound bag of Mega B, and they're not touching it at all. So I don't know if it's the Mega B itself or if it's just they don't need it. Hard to tell. They're just not doing anything with it. Let's see, fondant. But Thanksgiving, my niece made honey cornbread using my honey I gave her a little while back. So
Nice.
pretty good. If you haven't had honey cornbread before, it's pretty good. Let's see.
Well, I wasn't in my bees today. I'm just trying to talk bees. I did not do inspections today. I did not add honey supers nor harvest honey today.
Just a disclaimer.
I actually already miss working my bees, and when we're just starting the whole winter season, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna definitely be ripping and raring to go come March. So
if any of you get too many withdrawals, just come down here and poke around with the bees for a little while.
Yeah, I'm just content to see them just like this.
Yeah.
I just get a normal bee suit because his bees are dangerous.
Yeah.
No, that colony died actually. That mean colony did die out.
You put it out of its misery, or your misery, I should say.
Well, they were so mean I didn't even want to open them up, right? So when it came to feed, I was like, I'm not feeding them. If they can store it away, they can keep it, and if they can't, well, then they eliminated themselves. So,
So
yeah,
they
they starved.
literally bit the hand that fed them.
Yep, and they
That hand
starved.
stopped feeding them.
They starved to death.
So
So
sad.
Let that be a lesson.
Hey, wait, Ian. Minus 15C. Let's see what that is.
That's 5 degrees.
That's pretty
Yeah,
Five
good.
F.
geez.
That's a little chilly.
We're still around 0 over here, like 0
Yeah.
plus 2.
Felt cold. It was only minus 10 when we came home, and we were just freezing to death. Couldn't believe it.
It's
I
8
checked on
over
them.
here.
Checked
Only
on the
minus
bonnet
10.
prices.
it's
about
only
50
minus 10.
$55 for a block of it.
55 for 30 pounds.
No, for 50 pounds.
55 for, okay. So just a little more than $1 a pound.
Mhm.
Is that fondant you're talking about, the block?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go to the restaurant store. I don't know whether they got one in your area. If that's
So-
what, I don't know. I tried it. It was too messy. You had to cut it with a knife, trying to cut it, and all
Do you
that
know
stuff.
for sure, Charlie, that there's nothing in there but sugar and maybe a little vinegar?
Yeah, it's got some corn syrup in it. I knew that.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Like, is that cake fondant? Is that the same as bee fondant?
Yeah, it's just baker's fondant. Matter of fact, if you ever watch Black Mountain Honey, he buys baker's fondant. So it's probably the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is just plain fondant. Let me see what ingredients. It's 90-10, which I think it's got sugar, corn syrup, and water. I think the 10% is cornstarch, I think.
Hmm.
I think it's involved in there. And it's white. There's no coloring or anything. I don't know. My question is, everybody talks about this here Hive Alive fondant with all its nutrients or whatever, and I like to know, does it really do anything? I mean, some people swear by it, but I mean, okay, tell me, what's it do? Is it like Apis Biologic where I can see what it does come springtime?
I'm not sure if I ever saw what it does, but I bought some last year for the first time. I got a little bit left over for spring. It just made emergency feeding for me, especially on my double nukes, a lot easier. I mean, I could just pop it in there and squish it down and
Yeah.
cut a hole, and I was off and running. It was more the ease of it than anything else.
I mean, if I do any emergency feeding, I got sugar bricks already made up. I got a shim, throw the shim on, put the sugar bricks on top of the frame, put the lid back on, and I'm done. You know, that kind of a thing.
Hive Alive does relieve the weight of that heavy wallet, though, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, David. They had two different fondants in there. You had, I'll say, a cream fondant or something like that you could make icing with or something. And all.
I've gotten buckets from the grocery store out of the bakery that still have stuff in them, like you're saying. Bees wouldn't touch it, not at all. Icing, not at all.
Yeah, like they got here, they got buckets that's vanilla or white vanilla rolled fondant icing. And what I'm talking about comes on it comes in a cardboard box. It's wrapped in that blue film, and it's kind of tacky, but it's a solid block.
Sounds like the same stuff that Black Mountain Honey uses.
Yeah.
That's kind of what his is.
Hey, Mark. But anyway, yeah, I've used it some, but it's just a nuisance to me. And then a lot of time, the biggest thing with fondant is if it dries out, the bees won't touch it. That's the one thing about like the Hive Alive is the fact that it's in that plastic bag. Unless you, if knowing what I know now, if you took the find it where you cut it off in big chunks, rolled it out and put it in a
Yeah.
Ziploc bag, and then cut a hole in it,
Yeah,
you achieve the same thing.
that's what I would do. Same with patties, pollen patties. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
That way you cut down the exposure. Well, I'm not even going to say it, but there's a certain pest that likes pollen patties. And, if you put them in a baggie and cut a trap door in the bottom of it, you cut down the surface area that the pest can get into. So.
You have to worry about hive beetles, Todd?
No.
I
That's
do.
why I don't want to talk. I don't want to say that word. So,
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
did that when I did my inspection this week. If I saw frames with hive beetles on it, I made sure the queen wasn't on it, carried it over to a migratory cover, shook the bees off, banged the frame on the lid and knocked all the beetles off and played whack-a-beetle for a while.
Yeah, Melanie, the big thing for me, Golden Barrel's pretty close to me. And like our club can go, we would buy in the past, I don't know, 30 or 40 boxes and pick it up and haul it in.
So Todd, why do you think you don't have a problem with hive beetles in your area?
It's a soil. It's almost like concrete the first 3 feet. Unless you have a lot of the farmers have had these fields forever and ever, and so they're always disking at the end of the year. But otherwise, if you don't, it's like concrete. It will crack. There'll be like fissures in it in the summertime when it dries out.
Yeah, that's
So
a lot like
hard.
our soil.
Yeah.
It's very, very heavy, and
Yeah.
when it dries, we'll have 1.5 inch cracks in the ground.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, but yeah, it's brutal. It's at least 2 feet. It's somewhere between 2 and 3 feet. There's a layer there that is just hard as a rock.
Yeah.
If it's anywhere past June, forget about digging a hole. It's too much.
And our soil here is sandy, more sandy, so easier for the beetles to procreate, I guess.
And I know when out at the farm, when they need to do something, they'll put a ripper on the back of the tractor and rip whatever they have to do. But otherwise, I mean, a bucket won't do anything. A backhoe with a bucket won't do anything. It's just it's brutal.
Yeah, they talk about that in Texas. It's so hard out there like that. They call it Texas cement or something like that.
Texament.
I don't know what it is. That's why they don't have basements out there, because you can't dig the ground.
Do they kind of escape the scourge of hive beetles too in those areas?
I don't know. Philip, if you're still on here, do you have hive beetles in Texas?
I think they have them in areas, but I don't think it's. Well, I don't know. I think they have them in areas. I'm sure there's hive beetles in California, but just not my area.
Right. I have some, but
thing.
very few.
Carl,
you there?
Hey, it's
Yeah,
Cameron.
I'm sorry.
Kick him out.
I had a pronoun because all of a sudden I on video. I'm gonna drop out and come in on the other computer.
Okay, I can hardly hear you.
Yep. Welcome to the club. Because the pronoun wasn't too good.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I love you all. See ya.
what's he drinking tonight?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. This should be fun.
Who cares?
They're discussing.
Charlie, I wanted to mention to you that you and Bill had brought up the Apis biologic, and you'd called it rocket fuel.
Yeah.
And a couple of days after that live, when you who had mentioned that, I noticed that Man Lake has a version of pollen patty that they actually call rocket fuel.
It's
Well,
got
it's got Apis biologic in it.
Yeah, so I
You don't
think I
watch-
might
you don't
actually
watch
get some
Ian?
of those this year. So,
That's Ian.
That's
You know,
Ian's
Ian Stepler is the one that coined that phrase.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Well,
And
I noticed that it's actually in the name, right? Like they actually call it
Yeah,
rocket fuel pollen patty.
Well,
So,
Bob Air was the first distributor of that in the country, literally. And
Yeah.
he told the guy that who invented it that you need to have a little more snazzy name. It's more, and he wouldn't listen until he got hooked up with them big guys. He
yeah,
doesn't know the guy who invented it is not a marketer.
right.
And if you look at Apis Biologic on Man Lake's book, it'll state right in there about Ian Stepler and rocket fuel and all that. And I don't know whether Ian's getting any kickbacks on it. He should be.
Yeah.
Strong Microbial does the same thing. They
Huh?
got Strong Microbials has the same thing. They've
Yeah.
got rocket fuel on their label.
I know Cayman really likes the global patties, and I know that some of the global patties have the Apis biologic in it as well, but I don't think they actually use the term rocket fuel in the name
they
of the
don't.
patty. So.
Oh,
No,
they
they
do.
don't. Hey,
They do.
Oh, do they?
well, in print though, or do they just talk about it?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't, when I saw it, I didn't see it in print because I was actually, it actually made me laugh when I saw that Man Lake's actually using the term rocket fuel in the name of the product. So,
That's where it comes from because the term rocket fuel is whatever you call that word, synonymous, I think it is, with
Yeah.
Ian.
Yeah,
Because when he was developing the product, helping the guy develop it as in testing phases, that's what he nicknamed because he couldn't tell anybody what it was. And that's why
That's right.
we here on the chat knew about it because we watch Ian. And then when it finally came to market, Bob got the franchise and we were buying it from him at the time. But I mean, if you haven't tried that, if you want some busting bees, that's the stuff to get.
I think I'm going to pick up a box of it, in the spring and give it the first round of patties. I'm going to use that because I used the Bee Pro 1 year and my bees hardly touched it. And then I used the Ultra Bee. They seem to kind of like the Ultra Bee. I haven't had any problems with that, but I think
liquid feed Bee Pro from Man Lake.
No, the pollen patties.
Okay.
So yeah, I just used the Bee Pro pollen patties, and they didn't seem to like. They didn't eat too many of them or whatever, so they didn't really touch it very much. So, so next time, I think this spring I'm going to actually pick up the rocket fuel patties and see how how that goes with them.
Well,
so.
I like the global or nice and soft patty. When it comes to pollen patty, I think
nice
global's got it over any of them.
So
of course, I
menu
usually
tonight,
when I
Carol.
go to the conference, I usually pick up 20 pounds for about $1.
You're not supposed to eat those.
Hey,
You're not supposed to eat those, Charlie.
Oh, I don't eat them.
So Scott, there is Apis for liquid feed, right?
Yeah, that's the that's not the activator. That's the yeah.
So if you use that, be very careful with it.
Okay.
Because
That's
your bees
right
will
there.
explode.
See it there,
you
Scott, on Bob's window.
Gotcha.
Your bees will explode. You'll see a tremendous.
If you use that in your, like I use it in the fall when I feed my bees in sugar water, you best be in there by March.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I do it in the spring, and then within
it's like range
3-4 weeks,
bees
it's
out of
exploding.
Canada.
If anybody wants to mix up about 600 pounds of pollen patties, let me know because I got the big bag, the huge bag.
He's like a big mouth that doesn't even sell anything.
Who's that?
Cuba.
Who, me? I don't sell anything.
Talking to his wife, I think.
Oh,
I was talking to my wife.
Oh,
We
I
could
was
tell.
talking to my
now
wife
he's
about-
calling me a big mouth that didn't
We
sell
could
anything.
tell you,
Oh,
slur
well,
the same when
no.
you talk to her
Well,
as when you
it just
talk
so
to us.
happens that Bob, you were holding that bag of
Oh,
gold up.
oh yeah,
That big bag of gold.
that thing. I'm afraid to open it.
Yeah, are you? I was going to ask you, are you ever going to use that stuff?
I don't know that I'll ever make 600 pounds of pollen patties.
Well, Mrs. Carl,
Okay. Well, that's what I was saying, Bob. I mean, 600 pounds. I mean, come on.
This is the reason he made this is so he could, when he sent them to like Global Patty, this was enough to do like a pallet almost, right? So he could send them a package, and they could empty the one package into the mix.
Call up
So-
Global Patty and sell
So
it.
it's the activator that goes into the pollen patty and the control that goes into the syrup.
Correct.
correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So basically, Scott, it's like when I'm mixing 40 gallons of syrup, I'll take 1 tablespoon to 40 gallons of syrup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a small amount.
It ain't
Wow.
very much.
What
Wow.
was it? What was it again, Bobby? It was 1/8 of a teaspoon to
Y'all
a
are getting lying.
gallon. Something like that.
I have it written here someplace, but I don't.
I
know
think
what
it's 1/8 of a teaspoon to a gallon.
It's
It's
very, very small.
it says it is
Oh, here we go.
308 milligrams per liter, or 390 milligrams to 1.17 gallons US.
Brad,
Mixture.
translation, Brad.
Well,
Well,
it used to be per gallon, but then he made the distinction on the new labels that it's US gallons and Canadian gallons are different sizes.
right,
So it didn't equate exactly correct.
right.
But
And he's,
but I
he's
think
weighing it in metric anyway. So
All right, I got
So
it.
so is it a Canadian product?
yes,
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's 1 teaspoon of Apis to 5 gallons of sugar water. Half a teaspoon.
half a
Half a
teaspoon to
teaspoon.
5 gallons.
Yeah, of sugar water.
All right,
Yeah, and your bees will explode.
they will. They absolutely.
That's why I only feed in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for 40 gallons, you need 17 grams of Apis for 40 gallons of sugar water, which is right around a tablespoon. So
I really appreciate how he packages it for my purposes anyway, because I mix in 1,000-liter tote, and that
One
larger
package.
package goes in 1,000-liter tote. So I'm really thankful for that. I still mix it. I'll bring it in the house, put it in my blender, and mix it with a little bit of syrup.
yeah, that's what I
That's
did this
okay.
year. It's a lot easier. It doesn't mix very well in sugar water.
I was
Yeah.
just about to ask that,
Right.
like how soluble is it? Like, does it just mix right up, or it sounds like you have to mix it separately and then put it in?
On the package, it says put it in your blender, mix it with some syrup.
Gotcha.
Get it
I take 3/4 of a quart water, a jar of water, put it in the blender. I take my tablespoon, throw it in there, mix it up for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, pour it
Yeah.
back into the quart, and take it down there and throw it in my 40-gallon mixing tank.
They
And
do it the hard
what's
way.
the shelf life on that stuff? Like, does it like you have to use it inside a season or what?
2
It says
years.
2 years
Hold it
on the
open
on the
and
label,
pass it
but
around.
I find if you put it in the freezer when you're done, it doesn't absorb moisture. If you just open it up, it's going to absorb the humidity and everything. But if you put it in your freezer, it'll keep it good.
I got some in my freezer now, and it's working
Yeah.
great.
That's where I keep it.
What's
Now
this
it comes in
called?
2 different size bags. I buy the big bag. I'm sure. I mean, how many hives you got, Scott? 10 or so?
I have 10 right now, but I'm gonna I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna really expand in the spring. So I definitely at least want to double what's in that yard, but I'm trying to expand into a couple of other yards as well. So
You can
Welcome
buy.
to our life, Scott.
what's that, Carl?
Welcome to our life.
Yeah, right.
We all catch this disease.
Yeah.
And we want to double, triple, quadruple.
Right.
And
Never
you
is.
will meet your enemy, which tells you slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they sell it in two different size bags. They got a 200 gallon in it, Bob, a 230 gallon bag, and then there's a 50 gallon bag.
Yeah, the
And-
one
I
I
mean-
held up is the 50.
So Scott, go to a secondhand store or a Goodwill or something.
200
Buy
feet.
a blender, but buy a blender that has a glass container, not plastic.
Okay. Not plastic. Yeah.
And then use that just to mix this up. And
All right.
Charlie said, whip it for 30 seconds, a minute, and then pour it in whatever your 5-gallon bucket, whatever
And
you're mixing.
now,
You
like
want the
for me,
redneck way to do it? Take your
Yeah.
dough and put it in a mason jar and
Yeah.
put some water in it and shake the crap out of it, and then pour it in and mix it in with your syrup that you're making.
Yeah.
That's the only way I've done it. I've never used a blender and drug all that crap out and done all that. But some people are more particular and more successful beekeepers than me.
Well, the way I do it is
I was going to ask,
I
how'd
mix-
your bees do?
That might be why I can't keep my bees alive. I'm
Works
mixing
for those
their
17 colonies.
The way
I'm
you can
mixing
also do it
the
is since I mix the pails individually for feeding, like the 3-gallon pails, I just measure it out, put it in the sugar, then add the water mix. That also works. But it's to make individual, like if you make it like I do, like each individual pail, that's another way you can use.
What's
That's
that
all
big
off
word?
label, man. That's
I have a
off label.
question for Carl.
Go ahead.
Carl, what did you put in that barrel? Did you put creamed honey or did you put liquid honey?
I put all liquid. I thought about putting some creamed honey in there and that, but being they're only 10-gallon barrels,
Yeah.
and I was like kicking it around because I had 2 cream machines with about 10 gallons in each one,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, and I thought better of it. My wife said, no, just put in plain honey.
Yeah.
So she wanted the end product in that. So, and Bob, by the way, I got a biggest kick out of what you said because I was walked away and I was doing something and all I could think of was 17 in and 17 out.
That's it.
Because you made that comment last week or 2 weeks ago. So
I could have 1,000 out there. I'll come in spring with 17. Doesn't matter.
yeah, Bob, you're gonna get there, bud, and you know you got it going
think-
on. You're gonna get there.
Maybe the bees are telling Bob that, hey, take 17 and really focus on that and see what you can do with the 17.
Probably make as much honey as I did this year. I mean, I only made 1,200 pounds. So
Well, there's
got-
nothing wrong with that. That's a good
1200.
amount. So
Well, if you can get 17 highs, you should, between
but
12.
that was also the same chat that Ian said he was getting 100 pounds off a nuke.
yeah,
You remember that?
Yeah.
Nothing will bring you
Yeah.
back to reality like a chat with Ian Stepler.
yeah.
Like a lightning bolt to the head.
And then you got Brad in the side chat here now chuckling about it because he pulls in a ton of honey too.
Oh,
'Cause-
my crop is a crop failure to Ian.
yeah,
If Ian got the amount of honey I got, he would quit it. He would quit.
Brad,
Yeah,
you're doing
Brad,
pretty
but
well.
you're getting what?
You're doing okay.
150 pounds a hive?
100, 120. I had an anomaly this year. I got 160 out of 1 yard.
Not bad for a guy that
65,
came
I
into
think
the
it was.
season wondering what he was going to do.
Hey, I could have 150 colonies next year. I mean, he had 3 at the end of coming out.
yeah, almost 12,000 pounds out of 4 colonies that overwintered.
So you got 2.
That's a good
You
deal.
got 2. What'd you get? 2,500 pounds a colony.
Was 3,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Listen, I wish nothing but best for all of you.
Well, we wish the same for you.
You know, I think it's a good idea, and we had talked about this. At least I did a couple years ago on chat. Was doing nuke swaps, right? So swapping nukes with other beekeepers in your area. No charge, just nuke swaps, right? You give me 5 nukes, I'll give you 5 nukes to promote diversity in your yard and bring in new genetics. It's a net zero cost, right?
There's beekeepers around here do that with queens. They'll just swap cells or something, either mated queens or cells. They'll just swap because they raise a lot of beekeepers raise their own queens, and so they just do a swap just to mix up genetics a little bit, so that old family tree don't get too straight.
Right. And I think that's a good idea. I mean, at least if you're doing a nuke swap, you're getting viable colonies, at least when you do the swap. In my case, they'd probably die 3 weeks after I gave a good colony away. But but you know, that's kind of how it rolls around here. But I think it's a good idea if you have, you know, obviously you have to be a beekeeper you trust. Like I wouldn't have a problem doing it with Sam, other than I would probably think that his nuke that he wanted to swap would be probably weak compared to the one that I'd want to give him, just because I know how he makes his nukes, right? And how he does the system. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a pretty good idea. I mean, if I live close to Todd or you, Brad, or, you know, any of you guys, Charlie, Scott, I don't know you that much yet. So, I mean, it would be no problem to say, hey, you make up 10 nukes. I'm going to make up 10 nukes, and we can do a 1-for-1 swap for diversity purposes. And, you know, I think it'd be a good idea. Plus, then you don't have to worry about as much inbreeding on your.
Bob, are you giving us a nuke from that angry hive you have that produces honey like crazy?
It died. I killed it.
Did you?
No, nature killed it. I just didn't do any beekeeper assisting, right?
It flew off to the angry
listen,
orchard.
I understand your point of view. It was kicking ass with production, but
yeah, first cold night, I came back from work, and there's dead bees all in the bottom of it. It just died out.
The old saying, Carl, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's what happened to that hive. It bit the hand that fed it, and it didn't go well.
I think he went off to pollinate the angry orchard, is what I think.
I actually think that Todd drove from California and sprayed some shit in the bottom of that hive.
Some neonics.
To take care of it, to finally put Bob out of his misery.
Now I just have to worry if one of my other ones decide it's going to just take its spot over on the chain of command there.
I knocked on Bob's door and I ran down the driveway and jumped in my car and left.
What? Yeah. Okay. That would be one hell of a drive, wouldn't it, Todd?
Yeah, it would.
But yeah, so next year, I mean, assuming that I come out with my 17, which I'm well on my way, that I'm gonna have to be aggressive again. One year, I want to say, you know what? I got 25 sitting here. I'll make my splits and sell those splits off and just keep my 25. But it never ends up that way. I mean, I'll have 70 colonies of some sort, whether it's a 2-frame nuke with a queen cell in it, or a 5-frame nuke, or 25 queens come from California during the middle of the honey flow, and you're splitting out. It's like I'm gonna keep this G rated because it's a holiday program. Just terrible timing, right? Just terrible timing on stuff. And because of where I live, there is no good timing. In 6 years, I haven't found a good time to find a queen, because when everybody I know, like Jose and everybody's making queens, I already should have had my queens because my spring starts so much earlier than everybody else's. So I've got to definitely step that game up. So probably in March, I'll figure out how many colonies I can split. I'll drive down to Cutix and pick up a bunch of queen cells. And try to get it going, early.
I
Well,
really
you're
think
not in a bad area, Bob, where you could take advantage of that. So
Hey,
jump
Matt.
on it. Get the money.
I-
Jump on it.
I really think, Bob, that you're better off getting local queens.
Well, that's an hour away from me. So
Well,
Todd,
but-
who gives a
but you
shit?
know what
He's
I mean.
selling it to somebody else.
They're not, they're not 3 time zones away.
right. Well, yeah, that's true. That's I haven't had good luck with California queens, and that, I mean,
I still say it's a shipping.
Yeah,
it's probably
I
the
think so.
shipping. I've bought them
Yeah.
from Oliveras, and I've gotten them from Jose, and I just haven't had good success with them. And that's probably what it is. They both came out of.
And see, I had great
California.
success with Jose's queens.
Well, they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right up the road
They
from
do
you,
the
right?
same thing, basically. So
So, and then
Open
you get
up,
down
Bob.
here and it gets to
Open up.
115, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, what'd you do to me?"
Well, I know there's this one YouTuber. He's in Oklahoma. It was a Jerome Bee Farm, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets queens from, I think, a place called Wildflower Meadows or something like that, and he is always raving about their queens. And I think he had a problem one time. I think it was more UPS. UPS didn't, like, I guess they hung on to him or whatever, but all he did was call them. They replaced the queens, and the next time they shipped the new queens out, he didn't have any problems with them. But he always really raves about those queens. So
He is.
it has to be a nightmare for breeders.
Depending where he lives in Oklahoma, he's probably north of me a bit.
Who jumped out?
Alex.
Alex.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think Todd and I are almost
Similar.
on the same
Yeah. What's that?
latitude.
Latitude? Latitude.
Sorry, you
right?
hit the wrong
Be back.
close window.
So
Well, here's the problem with shipping queens. Here's what the problem is: we can't control any one of us.
right.
And you can go hot and cold environment. You can go from, if it's somebody that actually reads the box, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
live animal.
And don't cover the
You know-
vents on the side with other boxes, right? All day long in a hot truck.
Exactly. So I mean, it's due diligence.
mhm.
So you're effed, to put it politely.
So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
I
If
could
it,
get 'em
if it
from-
all works out and it works out, you got a great queen. But
I can
otherwise,
probably get them
you're
from Florida or South Georgia. Is
Yeah,
probably
so
where I could get
you
'em
never
from.
know. And you know what? If you're a beekeeper and you hit a certain point in where you're keeping bees, produce your own goddamn queen. Point blank. We had this conversation with most of these guys in this chat. Take the dive. If you try and create your own queen, if you end up with 10, you got 10 good queens, or 5 or 4 or 3, you are already ahead of the game.
Grafting's not my issue. I can graft queens. I can get them to emerge out of the cells in the incubators, get them
Exactly.
back mated, right? They
Yeah.
get picked off by dragonflies and birds and whatever
Exactly,
else.
Bob. Exactly.
Lizards.
Though, but if you graft 25 and you end up with 3, you're way ahead in the game.
You're $100 ahead of the game there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not great at it. I'm working at it personally, but the more you try, the better you get.
What you
So-
drinking this evening, Carl?
I'm not drinking anything.
You're not drinking anything on Thanksgiving? Did you drink earlier?
I started at 9 a.m.
He stopped when he plugged in his computer.
No, I drank wine. I drank some wine, Bob. And now when you're talking to me, I finally drank a brandy.
Oh, Brandy.
Finally have a
There you
brandy, Bob.
You go, Carl.
And you know what? Thank you for the ask.
I'm drinking a barley pop. Oh,
You know
barley
what? You know what, Todd? Go fuck yourself.
Oh,
Hmm? Barley pop.
All right.
No, I actually had a couple brandies and some beers.
See, you had some barley pops.
There you go.
Yeah, nothing wrong
All right.
with that.
I just for everybody's in the chat, we've got 11 tickets left to the
Dinner.
dinner, which will be the
Bobby
first
dinner.
of
And
January.
Bob will
out
be
in
there, right?
Kentucky.
Bob, you going?
No, I'm not going. I
And
can't
there's
afford it
the,
this year.
And then the link is in the chat if anybody wants to get a ticket if you're going.
Let me see.
So anyway,
Alex, are you going
Smash
or
the
what?
thumbs up. We got 55 people watching. I only see 14 likes on the live stream.
Actually, you know what? Thanks, Bob.
Let me see.
You know what I'm going to pay attention to a lot this year, Charlie?
what's that?
Ants
Randy. Yeah, God.
and swarms.
Ants. Yeah, ants is that's automatic. But during the off season, I already started looking at it the other night. Is Randy Oliver's treatment? What do you call it, Bob? Where you put in the treatments and you have the graph that shows you the population of bees and mites.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got that thing. The simulation. I am really going to be paying attention to that. And I've already got a plan worked out. I just have to look at it.
You can download that.
Yeah, I downloaded it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with formic in the spring before oranges. Then I'm going to do the OA extended release in probably June. Then I'm going to add a couple tablets before I finish off the year in September, depending on the weather, with Apiguard. So,
Well, how many of y'all studied that second part 2 of Benny and what's his name? Greg Rogers.
Greg Rogers, yeah.
That extended OA. I've been looking at that, and I looked at what's interesting to me is the 3 different charts that they used. The 2 other guys that did it that were like 20, 30 hives a piece, and then Greg's chart there, and it was close to what I do. The only thing I'm concerned is if I, they're talking about where they do it let's say December, January with OA vape. Well, I'm doing that through the whole winter. If the weather's correct, if the weather's right for me. And then usually March, April, May, and June, I don't do anything. And then I was doing Apivar, which that is no good for me. And I'm going to try to do Apiguard. I'm going to try to do it like mid-July or early July, 3 or 4 weeks worth of that, and then wait till my normal September with Formic Pro, and then back, to November again with oxalic acid. But I was thinking, my concern is I never really particularly care to put treatments on while my honey super's on. I know it's okay to do it with OA. It's okay to do it with Formic, but am I still going to contaminate my honey per se? I mean, I'm just sort of concerned about that.
I mean, I don't have anywhere near the experience that most of you have, but for me, Formic and OA has really worked. I mean, perfectly for me as far as keeping.
It works.
Yeah, I mean, it works. So
when do I put extended release pads? April, May, and June. Because
I mean, is it necessary to basically be constantly treating them that way?
Well, I've been my normal, like I just explained there. I treat from I've been with using Apivar. I would treat from late July all the way around till February of next year. So I don't know.
And so the pads are going to, whenever you use the extend and release pads, that's not a knockdown treatment like what Greg said in the video. That's a maintainer. So if you wash 5 mites in this hive and you have your pads in there, you're going to be sticking around 5 or 6 mites when you wash again. It's not going to knock them down to 0. So it's just it stunts them. Well, it doesn't stunt, but it just delays the growth of the mites. The population, not the mite itself. So it's a nice in between. So like Charlie's concern is supers. So we all know that you can use oxalic acid when supers are on. This form, it's not been approved, but the vaporization has. So you gotta kind of watch it. Do you want to put them on there? I mean, it's a call to you. If you're just gonna give honey away to your friends and stuff, I'm sure it's fine. But if you're gonna sell it, well, then you have to stand behind your product. What is that gonna do? Probably nothing.
I mean, I think I agree with Charlie. I mean, I don't think I would want a chance using it when the supers are on. I mean,
think of it this way, though. When you sell a product, you have to know what you're using. But if you give it away where you're not getting anything in return, you're safe as a kitten. Okay?
Yeah.
When you sell it, that's a whole different ballgame. So, I mean, it's up to you what you want to do with it. But
are you talking about the OA pads?
Yeah,
release.
Because the extended, well, I mean, Varoxone is now on there, but I don't think those have been cleared by the FDA or the EPA for. It's the FDA.
Well,
for use with supers. Yeah.
Well, yeah. At Nobby last year, I went and saw. Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a big commercial guy. He talked about how he handles his year. I think he's in Florida and he goes to Michigan or something like that. He's migratory, and he has over 4,000 colonies.
Oh, Chris Warner.
Yeah, was it Chris Warner?
Yeah, that's who you're talking about.
When he told us straight up, when he gets his bees to Michigan or wherever, he drops 2 OA extended release in each corner, and he leaves them there until they go back south. And he gets a huge honey crop off of those things. And he's a commercial guy selling it in barrels. So, and I thought it was great because he was actually saying what he did, where most people sort of skirt around the issue. And he just, there was only a few hundred of us in the room. So, nobody was really listening.
To be honest, Philip, I don't think the government has done any studies on extend and release pads in the super yet. They've done it with the vaporization, but they haven't done it with the extend and release.
He did say that he was going to start. He had 2-inch strips on his 2x6 or whatever. Yeah. He's going to cut his in half and put them in all 4 corners like Greg Rogers is doing.
Yeah. And, there was another thing that came up in that video about the, he didn't name names, but I know what he was talking about. I use that, what the heck is it? That new pig or blue pig absorbent pads. He had made a comment about, they don't know if there's actual fire retardant chemicals in those pads. And so that adds a different wrinkle to everything that you're putting into your colonies.
So that's what he was talking about?
Yeah. So I've been on vacation this week, and I've been meaning to call them. I'm sure if I call them tomorrow, it's going to be closed. But I'm going to call next week and verify that. I did look it up on the internet, and in the pads that I got, which are the water absorbent pads, it is not listed in the MSDS. So, or there are no fire retardant chemicals listed in the MSDS for the water absorbent pads. So I don't know. I need to get verification because those are the ones that I have been using, and I'm not going to use them if they're, if that chemical's in there, because that's a carcinogenic chemical.
Those pig pads are the most economical, but you got to buy so many of them.
Yeah, they really are. They really are good. But if they have fire retardant in them, I'm not going to put them in my boxes.
Find that out before I buy some, Todd. Tell us.
I'll let you know.
I believe that the if you would do some research into that, to those new pig pads, that you might find that most of those pads have the fire retardant materials or chemicals in it.
Exactly, but the oil absorbent ones, the water absorbent, are different. The oil makes sense that you have fire retardant in those pads, but if it's a water absorbent pad, it doesn't make sense to have a fire retardant in those pads. So
that's what you're using then?
I'm using the water absorbent. Yeah.
Okay.
Which are the Swedish towels, correct?
No.
They're the new pig.
They're
called
new pig or blue pig or something.
Yeah.
They are, in my opinion, they're so much better because the Swedish towels dry up, the bees chew them apart. When you want to scrape them off the top bars, they crumble. The new pig or blue, I can't remember what it is, Darren, but new pig or blue pig pads have a backing to them. That backing is what you put on top of the top bars. So when you go underneath with your hive tool, it comes up. And the bees do not tear them apart. They leave them alone. The worst thing the bees will do is they'll glue them down. But the Swedish towels, they tear those things apart. So it's a mess.
Yeah. Charlie, I wasn't aware there was difference between the pads, water or oil, but generally, Charlie, what those are, they're like 20-inch, 20 by 30 or 20 by 20, right? They're big, and mechanics use them, throw them down on the shop floor to absorb spilled oil and stuff. That's what they're made for.
Yeah.
I linked the map into the
my plan, I
chat.
think, is I'm just going to do what I normally do, but it just substitute Apivar with Aprigard and do it that way.
Yeah, you know what? It's whatever you're comfortable with, and maybe there's regional variances. Maybe Apigard works better in some areas than others, or vice versa, or Apivar, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Penn State just put out that paper that Robin Underwood I think it was Robin put out that paper, and the thing about her, like, she doesn't go into a lot of detail about her research, but one of Penn State's papers, it was a few months ago, said that you're better off, like, rather than sticking to like one treatment, you're better off like switching it up, which I think a lot of us are doing that now. I know you do, Charlie, and I'm trying to do that more, using different treatments. I just got to like figure out how to schedule it and when am I going to use this treatment versus that treatment? When is it good time to use the Apivar? And you always got the heat and the humidity and all those different things you got to worry about.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, if you watch that second video, they had 3 different treatment timelines, I'll call them. And my time, and most of them are kind of close to my own timeline, where, like I say, from November until the 1st of March, I do OA. I try to do it a couple times a month, every couple weeks. January of this past year, I didn't get it in at all because it wasn't 45 degrees. It was cold. Anything below that, you have a cluster. At 45, the bees are not flying, but they're unclustered inside the box. And January didn't get nothing, but then February I hit them twice. And then after that, I'm done. And then March, April, May, and June is my honey season. Honey season, it did extend into July, but I went ahead and pulled the supers off because of spotted lanternfly honey and that kind of stuff. And I always put in Apivar about the third week of July, which is 6 weeks till the 1st of September. And it's our hot season. And Apivar doesn't have a heat problem. But the problem with Apivar is you got a resistance problem, because when I got my results back here a couple of weeks ago from the National Honeybee Survey, it was a 3.6 per 100, which was 10 point some, almost 11 mites. So it was well over threshold. So it didn't do its job. And I had a very high, and then September rolled around, always have a cool spot in September. Low humidity, low temperature, 80 degrees or less. And when I did my 2 pads of Ormic Pro, I had a really big mite drop. And we also seen mites prior to putting that on there because Apivar was not doing the job. So
no, Apivar did not do the job this year at all.
No.
So Charlie, when you're treating with OA in the winter, I assume you're just hitting them like you're just hitting each colony once. And what's your dose?
6.
Really?
Really?
I really don't
Wow.
think you could. I don't think you could overdose the bees on oxalic acid. They've been using it in Europe.
I remember one thing, 10 years or more ago, Obama made OA legal. The Europeans had been using it 10 years prior to the United States.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had did all these different science experiments. So they made it legal. EPA said, okay, 1 gram per box. So that's 2 grams for a double deep.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't 6 months after that to a year, and this has been, I don't know, 10 years ago. Here comes the information from Europe over a lethal dose to kill the mites, to really do the job right, is 2.25 grams per box. And that was 10 years ago. We knew that 10 years. They've been fighting the EPA for 10 years to try to rewrite the label to get at least 2 grams. And if you ask any commercial beekeeper, in most cases, they're going to put 3 grams in each box.
Yeah, somebody just did a video. I forget who it was. It was the other night. It did a video that they're doing 4 grams per box. So they were like doing double deeps, 8 grams. Then I wondered how are they doing that? Are they filling that cup up twice, or because I can only get 4 grams?
I mean, I was using 4 grams, and I have double deep, so that's basically 2 grams per box.
Yeah, that's what I do typically. But
you got a Robbie's vaporizer, right?
Yeah, I have the compact model.
Right, and it's got a plunger thing on it. It goes up to 4 grams.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I'm just sticking it in there and I'm hitting them. I think in September, I was, doing like the normal thing. So I was hitting them with 4 grams every 4 days for 20 days.
And nothing I'm not knocking you, but the bottom line is this is something I learned the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
You wasting your time doing it in September and October where we live at, because there's brood in there.
Right.
You've got to do it. If you want a 95 or a 98% kill, then you want it as broodless as possible.
Right.
Because I used to do it from September to the end of October, or from the middle of September to the end of October. It was about 6 weeks. I was doing it. I had gotten it up to twice a week, every 3 to 4 days. I lost 50% of my nukes out there one year.
Well, and just to clarify what it was is I had a window in August that I was able to use Formic, right? So I put Formic on all of my colonies that hadn't been broodless through, like I had some splits and stuff like that, and I had one colony that had queen issues. So I had a couple of colonies that were broodless for a while. So I did not put Formic on them just because I felt like the brood break was, probably taking care of the mite situation in those colonies.
If they were broodless, those were the colonies you should have hit them with OA.
Well, so I hit those colonies with OA in September.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was hitting them with 4 grams every 4 days for 20 days. And then, because I had already did Formic on the other colonies in August, I didn't hit them with any OA until the middle to the end of October, and that was just kind of like, just kind of as like a, as an extra push for it. So
where you headed? What did you want to say, Darren?
I don't know what I was saying. I think I was saying that it's not a waste of time if you're going to continue on the treatment throughout the winter, right? I mean, if you're just
right. Well, that's what I plan on doing, right? That's why I was asking Charlie, like, what's the dose he's hitting them with, because I'm going to keep doing it through the winter as well. So,
yeah, I mean, you got them. You can dose it out at 4. So I'll catch you later, Brad. Glad you stopped in.
Hey, Charlie, I think OA is valid if you hit them in about August and you do that every 4 days until you drop your mites back. If you wait till September, your bees might already have the viruses all taken over.
In July, I'll say between July and August, I'm going to do AprilGuard. And then I'm going to do Formic in September.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have that option down here.
Well, I have to say, Philip, I am kind of concerned. I'm definitely going to cut the dose in half for sure. And I'm going to try to find that window of opportunity, hopefully in maybe early July, if it's possible. That's always been my concern with that stuff.
So what's everybody's opinion on like using Formic with your honey supers on? Like, because I know, like, Carl, is Carl still? Carl's there. Carl, you didn't pull your supers off till what was it, a few weeks ago, right? So you pretty much had supers on through all summer and fall. There was a really strong fall flow here in Pennsylvania that was, at least in my area, it was stronger than our spring flow. So I'm thinking, how do I manage that? If I'm going to use Formic, do I need to like start like considering like putting a Formic on when I have my supers on? Is that
I kept my supers on right until late October.
Yeah, I know you had them on.
Yeah, because I have that goldenrod flow, so I take advantage of it, and I'm playing a juggling act. And I am, like you're saying, it's weird. I had to have that on, then I rip it off, and I put feed on. So it's like a game to have that goldenrod. It's a game. It's a constant game. It's like you got to play that game.
Was it worth it, Carl? Like, do you think was it worth it to keep the supers on? Like, did you get that much?
Well, I got about 850 pounds of goldenrod.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it wasn't worth it. Yes, but it's a game. Every year, I think I'm getting my ass kicked, but yet, is it worth it? Every year, you know what? Talk to me in July next year, and I'll tell you if it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to call it a night as well. Like Brad, it's
all right, Alex. We'll catch you later. And Roy in the chat. Good night. Thanks for coming
Alex,
on.
you ever sell any honey or what?
Oh, yes. You missed it.
He sold 50 pounds, Carl.
He sold a whole barrel.
Yeah, about 11 pails, 55 gallons.
Well, maybe next year you get 2 or 3 barrels.
Alex,
Have a good night.
Carl, I think he's going to hook up with this here wholesaler guy.
No, he dropped right out.
Yeah, he was done.
Yeah, he was going.
And
he
I
was
wasn't. I'm sorry, but I wasn't even busting balls.
was that off the one linden tree?
I wasn't even busting balls on that one.
Hey, Carl. Carl, did
Yes.
you see my glasses from earlier, Carl? I
I don't see nothing, Todd. I'm sorry. I don't see anything.
I went to the doctor and they got new glasses.
We got them.
Hang on.
Hat and all.
Hey, watch
I
this,
know.
Carl.
Dang hat.
Nah.
And then if I really need them, I'll do this.
Oh, God. You could all bust me, but you know what? I drink a little bit and this and that, but I gotta laugh.
All right. Tytrone says that apparently his maximizer pads doesn't have fire retardant in them.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Lit it on fire and burnt better. That's funny.
Well, I mean, think about it.
That's one way to tell them, Todd.
So think about where those things go. So yeah, they wouldn't have fire retardant in them.
Where do they go?
Well, you don't know what those are?
I don't know what it is.
Those are basically the feminine hygiene product.
Oh,
Is what they are. So yeah, they're not going to have fire retardant in them.
You might need them.
Yeah, you never know.
All right. So
What they say about those redheads.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get into redheads. Never dated a redhead. No, all of a sudden I dated one and I married one.
We'll save this conversation for the green room, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Darren, there's nothing green about it.
What, Philip?
Yeah. I'm gonna show you guys what I've been working on today. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I didn't get the chance to say that.
Yeah,
Let me see here.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. It's almost over. No, it's not. The maximizer pad. Uh-oh.
Where'd he go?
hit the
I thought
wrong
he was gonna
button.
show us-
I don't know. You must have hit the wrong
I
button.
thought he was going to show us something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
showed
all of a
us the
sudden I
exit.
was drinking my
Yeah,
glass.
he'll be back. Here he comes. All right, Philip.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I hit
remember what we used
I
to
hit
do
that
when
damn
we were
back
kids.
button instead of the X. Hold on. Trying to figure out how to switch my camera here. Oh, there it is. All right. Let's see here. All right. So, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I'm making these gift baskets,
Nice.
and I'll show you how I'm making them. Got these jars of honey. These are 9 ounces.
Philip, question on that.
Yep.
So those are 9 ounces of honey.
Yes.
Okay, so are those 6-ounce jars in?
Yes. These are 6-ounce jars.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've got them in these. I actually got these hex jars because I was going to play around with doing some creamed honey, but I never did get to it. But I think I'm going to be running out of honey soon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I've got these this is like a miniature version of my honey pot jars.
Mhm.
So anyway, this is them in the basket. I put a candle, lip balm, honey, and one of these honey sticks in there.
Are you
Oh, and I
still
wanted to show you
making
this. See this? Oh, what do you call this stuff? It's paper.
Yeah.
I just take packing paper that I get throughout the year, and I sit here and let me see if I can move this. I just sit here. This is a paper cutter right here. I just sit here and just chop it off and let it fall in that bucket. And I pick it up and wad it up for the stuffing that goes in the box. And of course, I make these boxes myself. Y'all have seen that. I've shown you that before. Make those in my wood shop. Anyway,
So what's that? A $20 box, Philip?
that's 25.
25.
Nice.
And if I put, let me see,
And do you ship those or do you just sell them locally?
no, I'm just selling them local. I got 4 more opportunities to sell, so I'm really trying to go hard on trying to get some money. But if I put a pair of earrings in them, the price goes up by about $10, $12. So, yeah, I'll mark it on the back how much they are. There it is. This one's going to be 37 because it's got the earrings in it.
Mm-hmm.
37. I'd never get that for that around here in my area. Carl, you'd probably get that up there. You're kind of in the Poconos. Almost.
25 for that one.
Hey,
No, they'll sell. I'll have one or two customers.
Buy it, I'll sell it.
Oh, yeah. Let me show you this too while I'm at it. I'll fall down. I have this. I use the shrink wrap and an impulse sealer, and then I just use the heat gun to shrink that.
Mm-hmm.
I looked this up for Carl. He was asking about it. This thing's pretty cheap. It's like, what was it, $40, I think? 16-inch impulse sealer, but the roll of shrink wrap is like 60. But it's like 550 feet. It's lasted me for 2 years so far.
Yeah, I checked into Philip. I'll be using it.
But yeah, it works good. And hey Carl, get the one get the shrink wrap that's like a bifold. So see, let me turn my camera back around. Okay, get the one. This is I got the 16-inch sealer, and this is a 14-inch roll. But if you can get the 14-inch roll, it's a single. But this is actually doubled over. See, I can put my hand in it. So you can put your product in there and then bring it over. And on mine, if I seal it twice, let me seal it. If I do once, it'll click itself off. And then I make sure it stays in the same spot. If I hit it a second time and I don't have to wait for the whole time, if I quickly, it's not going to work while I'm holding the camera. I got to have a whole hand. It'll tear off and it'll be sealed on both edges. If you get it,
nice.
I got you.
If you get it quick enough.
Yep.
And it's ready for the next one. So, and get the one that's they call it 75. I don't know if they call it 75 mil or something, but it's pretty thick. It'll shrink real good and won't tear on you too bad. This is really thick stuff. I can send you a link. I've got one in my outbox. I'll send you the link to the good stuff.
Send it away. I appreciate that because it's a game changer. That little shit.
Yep. Oh.
Those little things pay off in the long run.
There's a couple more that's ready to go.
Philip, you have your living room set up doing that. Does your wife appreciate all that stuff in her living room?
Yeah, this room has become part of the business, unfortunately.
Darren, his wife has no say.
I'll say that too loud. I think she's just in the other room, Carl.
She has no say. Keep that on the down low.
Yeah,
I've been yelled at
loud.
many times. I've been yelled at many times.
Hey, Josh. Glad to see you're in tonight. Out of the woods bees is Josh. He's out in Kentucky. Hey, Joseph.
Mr. Rawls.
Yep.
Nancy Tasker, she's another one who gets a lot of money for her honey. She gets $20 a pound out there in Philly. I used to live out there. That place is crazy. You know, I mean, like people, there's so much culture and stuff going on out there. People are really.
You got to be around an urban area to get the high prices.
Are you scared to ask for it? Go after it, Darren. You got it.
Not around here.
Darren, I was shocked at how many people on Facebook Marketplace down in my area and down in the Harrisburg area.
You live in a good area too, Scott. So
Yeah, but they were selling theirs for like anywhere like $8 to $9, maybe $10 a pound, right?
oh,
And I was trying to do some market research on it, right? So I just reached out to a couple of them and I just asked them like, how did you arrive at those prices? You know, like did you do it based on what it cost you? You know, what are you paying for? You know, can you tell me what you're paying for your containers and things like that? And most of the people were telling me that not only were they not considering price, like what their costs were or whatever, they were literally just kind of like a lot of them were like newer beekeepers and they were just doing it, you know, just to do it. But almost all of them, I must have reached out to I think 5 or 6 of them. I think at least 5 of them were telling me that at $10 a pound, they were getting pushback from from people in their area. Some
Really?
people were pushing back against $10 a pound. And I was just like, you know, because I'm not selling any honey right now. So, but I want an idea, because the last thing I want to do is end up sitting on a bunch of honey because I priced it too high, right?
what do you mean?
So
You're saying in your area, Scott, they're pushing back that the prices are too high at $10.
pushing back at $10 a pound.
Yeah, that's
That's
you live in a
minimal.
stronger area. I think it's worth more than $10 a pound, definitely.
I think so too. But I was going to tell you. So I saw all those Philly people in the Facebook group who were talking about it over the summer, and they were getting like $20 a pound.
Yeah,
right. And I was just like, God, I'm going to have to start taking my honey to Philly, I guess.
I know,
you know, to try to.
I'm going to go to New York.
Yeah, Nancy sells it. She can
Hamburg
tell you
Bill.
more about it.
Yeah, we should both do that, man. We'll just set up a table like on the sidewalk in New Hope or something like that or whatever, right? And just, yep.
Yeah.
The thing of it is, Scott, is where are you going to sell it at? I have sort of a storefront with my business.
Okay.
And I live in an area they got money. Now,
Right.
I look at it this way. Around here, it should be $12. If I was at an event like a farmer's market, $15 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Around here, normally should be selling it for 12. I do sell it for 10. I don't go anywhere. They all come to me. And my situation is if I go to 12, then I got to have a money box or something there for my help to make change, where usually I'm making change out of my own wallet type of thing.
Gotcha.
Even money is usually easier. And then some of them do credit cards and stuff too. So, I mean,
well,
yeah,
in Pennsylvania, you can sell as much honey as you want from your house or from your farm. You know, without any inspection, license, this, that, or whatever. But then, of course, yeah. But if you want to sell anywhere else, then you have to get inspected. So,
what about a farmer's market?
You have to be inspected for that too. You have to
I think anytime you're selling anywhere under any circumstances that's not out of your house, you have to get inspected. So, and they say the average inspection takes about 2 hours or so, and I think the license they give you then is good for 2 years.
So, do you guys have cottage food laws? I mean, do people sell pickles and, you know?
That I don't know. I
do know from what I know from Nancy and where they had a what do you call it? Health inspector up there. Now I don't know whether it goes by county or what, but Nancy can probably, if Nancy wants to drop in, she can maybe.
I think it's just that somebody comes from the Department of Ag. I think is how they do it.
No,
so.
I know that if you've got cats or dogs in your house, they're not going to pass you.
It's if you have a dog or a cat, even if you're just selling out of your house, if you have a dog or a cat, you're not allowed to sell it.
Right.
Your facility, your extraction and your bottling facility has to be free of pets. So that doesn't mean it's a separate room. That has to be a room that's actually closed off from any pets whatsoever.
Yeah. Right.
And still, even if somebody, like, you don't need to necessarily have an inspection, but if somebody would actually report you, then they have all cause to come in.
Yeah.
Do an inspection on your facility. So,
right. Well, I don't have any pets, so I'll be selling out of my house, but I mean, like, as far as like being able to sell outside of the house,
well,
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm probably not going to go through the inspection process just because I'm not likely to sell enough honey to make it worth the trouble. That's how I see it. So,
Well, I mean, it's like anything else when it comes to business. It takes time to build a business.
of course,
It'll take you 5 years to build up. Put a honey sign out in your front yard in Dillsburg and start getting that trade in there, and one buy somebody
Right.
else, tell somebody else, and all that stuff. And I'd start at $10 a pound at the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you see some of the like look at Brian and even Carl, like some of the honey that they're selling, we know that they're bringing in some revenue off of their creamed honey. That's a huge selling product. It really makes you think, could that be like a retirement plan? You know what I mean? Like supplement your retirement plan. And that's kind of like the way I'm looking at it right now.
Well, and I think about it too, right? Like, I think with as many colonies as I'm planning on expanding to, again, assuming that I'm going to get reasonable. I mean, from what I can tell, typically, kind of minimum honey crops from a good colony is about 50 pounds or so a season. So, and I don't do fall honey because I can't get past the smell of it. But I mean, like, just a normal spring, summer harvest minimum is like 50 pounds. I'm going to have at least, I'm hoping by the end of this coming, season, 25 season, that in my 1 yard, I'm going to have 20 colonies. And then I'm trying to work out some deals with some other property owners for additional yards. So at some point in time, I'm going to have to sell some of it, or I'm just going to be sitting on, tons and tons of honey, and, I'm not doing anything with it. So I'm going to have to start selling some of it. I just don't know how successful it's going to be.
So hold on, Scott. Let me just try to catch you up a little bit. I did the same thing. I had a couple of colonies, and I had when I got like 100 pounds, a friend of mine realized I was keeping bees. He put me out on some kind of group chat he's in, and I sold it for like $8 a pound. It was gone in 2 weeks. Okay.
Wow.
So then the next year, I probably had maybe a couple 100 pounds, and I put it out there at $10 a pound, and it didn't sell that great because I was selling it out of my house, but it still sold within about 3 or 4 months. Okay. So the next year, all of a sudden, I've gotten like 700 pounds, and that's when I decided I've got to try the farmer's market. The first thing I did was went to the farmer's market. There was somebody there selling honey. They were selling it for $16 for a 1 pound jar. So that told me what I needed to sell it at. And I sold out pretty darn quick with the 700 pounds. So I'm going to take, this was a down year for me, but I do collect the fall honey because fall honey smells like money to me. Okay. I'm going to take my 200 pounds of fall honey and turn it into about $400 by the time I split it into small jars and put it in these gift packs and all that.
Right.
So, but last year I got 550 pounds of the fall honey, and it was gone before this fall. But don't sell yourself short, man. Nancy said it in one of her chats. Test your market.
Yeah.
Don't listen to what anybody else says. You test your own market and don't sell yourself short. Because here I am I've got 6 buckets left, and they probably got about 45 pounds each in them. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make at least $5,000 and have some left to do the samplers when I go into the spring.
Yeah.
There's Nancy there, 1,200 pounds. She sells that every year. I've already, since the first of the year, right now, I'm over 1,200 pounds in sales.
I sold 1,300 pounds last year, and I'm going to sell about 1,000 this year. So, but I turned that into Nobody's with the IRS out there, right? I turned that into about, $12,000 to $15,000.
They're probably watching,
Wow.
Philip.
Well, and I would circle back to you, Darren. I mean, like, I would agree with your original, like what you were originally saying. You would think here in the capital area that nobody would push back against $10 a pound, right? But, some of these people are telling me people are pushing back at $10 a pound. And then when I look at what it's going to cost me, everything it's going to cost me to bottle, honey into a pound, and people are going to push back at $10 a pound. I'm wondering, is it even going to be cost effective for me to bottle and sell when people aren't even going to pay $10 a pound?
I think it will be, because I think the people that are pushing back probably aren't your customers anyway. I think that
Exactly. I was going to say that. Brad would have told.
Let me put it to you this way, Scott. They come in and they got an old fogey comes in here, $10 a pound.
Yeah.
And, I could go up to the store for $3 a pound. I said, yeah, you're buying. I said, you got to have a sales pitch here. I said, well, you're buying that Chinese honey and you really don't know what you're getting. And then their eyes get big. And I'm like, what do you mean? I says, it's funny, honey, buddy. I said, look at the packaging on the back. It comes from India and Cambodia and South America. And I says, guess what? It all is being filtered. China is filtering their honey through these companies. Educate them a little bit, and then they wise up, and then you go and you're like myself. I prescribe honey for allergies. I've cured dozens of people.
And other illnesses.
Yeah.
Scott,
I mean, people come into me and they swear by it. So
yeah,
and all
I sell mine the same way, Scott. I sell mine the same way Charlie does. I sell it right out of my front door, basically, and also I sell it hard. But so I set up a stand. I set up a table in front of my house, right? Walk up to the table, and I have a security camera on it, right? And so far, I haven't been ripped off. However, what happens is maybe 1 out of 10 customers, that person, for some reason, they're always like senior citizens. They'll come up and they'll look at the honey. I'm watching them on a camera. They don't know I'm watching them, but I'm watching them. And I can hear them talking too. That's the best part of it. And a lot of times they'll say, well, I don't, this is expensive, blah, blah. But that's maybe like 1 out of 10. Most of the time, and I have like different, I have like 4-ounce bottles. I have 2-ounce bottles. I do a lot of same, like I have a lot of the same sizes that Philip has. As I have a 10-ounce and I have my 1-pounders. And most of them come up and buy the 1-pounders. I mean, and I live in an area that's not nearly as like this happening as your area as far as financially.
Right, you're up in Clearfield, right?
I'm in Clearfield County, so
yeah. My wife went to school up there, so
the thing of it is, you got to remember one thing: you're all out there working, you're busting your butt getting this honey in, and you don't work for free.
Great.
And just tell them, if they want to sit there and chew on you, I'm like, hey, let me ask you something, buddy. Do you work for $5 an hour? No. Well, then don't sit here and try to make me work for $5 an hour.
So
I said, I got $10,000 worth of equipment sitting here to be able to extract this honey. And then as far as you're talking about the equipment and the money and all that, it will take you 5 years if you sit there like I did, you write down everything you spend on these bees, all the equipment, it will take you 5 years. You might finally come into the black and all that.
Yeah.
Another thing, like Rodney said in the comments, is have a sample bottle out there and let them taste it. I do that with my liquid honey and my creamed honey, and the creamed honey, they don't know what it is. They taste it, they're like, oh yeah, I want some of that. So when they taste it,
that's the thing, is getting them to taste it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that people come to my place is you got the best taste in honey, and all that, and talking about size bottles and stuff. Yeah. First it was bears, 8-ounce bears. They wanted to taste it. $5 a bear. Now I hardly sell any bears. It's usually 1s and 2s. And here in this year, I have 3-pound bottles. And I had one lady this past week, she bought 3 3-pounders. I probably sold 5 or 6 3-pounders this week.
Mhm.
You know, they're skipping over the smaller amounts. You know, I had one guy came in and he got two 2-pounders. Then they liked it so well, and they're using it. She's an herbalist, so she's using it for something. And now they came back and got the bigger bottles. You know. Then I have another lady that comes in here and she brings me in them half-gallon mason jars, and she buys. I kind of counted up. She buys about a bucket of honey a year. So
Wow.
she's dropping $600 in here, just that one customer.
Yeah.
When she wants to make sure that she uses honey instead of white sugar and all that stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'll for her, I'll refill her. I will take her bottles. Usually I wash them and then I fill them. You know, I got 3 of them sitting here right now. I got 2. Hey, I got a gallon and a quart jar sitting there for her right now.
I got the same thing, Charlie. I got repeat customers. I have customers who live up the road from me. They don't even have vehicles. Like the one girl works down at the grocery store, so she doesn't have a car, so she's probably not making much money down at this grocery store. But she probably about every 3 or 4 weeks she stops by and they probably buy 2 pounds of honey off me every like 6 weeks. You know, and I got several customers that do that.
You that's right. You get these repeat customers coming in, you know. Guy was standing there waiting and I was working on a big piece of wood and it got done. I said, well, what do we need today? I need that big bottle. There goes another $30 out the door, you know.
So Darren, will you do you think that you'll eventually get inspected and start selling it, you know, like
that's my goal
outside?
for this. That's my goal for 2025. I'm actually working on a honey kitchen, and
Gotcha.
I have a lot of plans beyond just like selling it out of my house. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, now like Brian there from Flower Trade, he does comb honey. I haven't never really did comb honey. I haven't really had anybody. I've had a few people ask for it. That's kind of a delicacy type of thing.
I think comb honey is inhumane.
What do you
I
mean?
mean, that's just my opinion. It's inhumane because, you know, I mean, in this company, I mean, everybody knows how hard those bees work to build that comb.
Yeah.
And then to just, you know, chop it up and take it completely away from them. I just think it's inhumane.
Well, how is taking their honey not inhumane?
Well, I mean, I get that part of it, right? But, I mean, the comb takes a lot of energy, to build, and without the comb, how are they going to make any honey anyway, right?
2 million trips to make 1 pound.
Yeah.
If you're taking their honey, Scott, you shouldn't be sleeping at night.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I just think that it's not, I mean, I would take the honey all day, right? As long as they would have plenty, right? Like that's I didn't really take much. I only took a little bit this year for me, just because I wanted to make sure that they had plenty for themselves.
Yeah, you'll get over that.
If you start,
and then I had to feed.
I got over that
because it was so warm. It was so warm this fall. I had to just keep feeding them and feeding them and feeding them. I was, like every time, every 2 days, they were taking like a gallon, like every 2 or 3 days, all the way up till, gosh, like the middle towards the end of October. So,
Scott, what about like if you had this resource hive set up just to build comb? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I get that part of it, right? And I don't begrudge anybody doing that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I wouldn't do it just because of how, just because I know how hard the bees work to make that comb. So.
Yeah.
Well,
it's Scott, like you'll change your opinion on that. If you start selling that honey, you're going to change your opinion on that real quick.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
but it's like folks here. I know there's a lot of folks that do a lot of creamed honey, and they have sales for it. And for me, that's more work. And I sell every bit of runny honey that I could possibly get my hands on. So I don't go ahead. I don't get into all that other venues. I just keep my runny honey and let it go at that because it sells. I can sell every little drop I can get of it. So that's where your market, like I say, you get that honey for sale sign out in your front door there or out there alongside the street or something. And
Charlie's a whore.
Huh?
Charlie's a whore.
Yeah, but he's not cheap, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, and I was thinking about building one of those like one of those like little food pantry things or whatever, and putting the honey in there and stuff like that. Sometimes people use them for books in their front yard. They put books in it. People and the neighbors can come and trade books.
You're talking about a
Charlie's
free.
selling.
Huh?
Charlie's selling, and good for him.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
say with your Scott, you're talking about a what do you call it?
A honey stand? Like,
It's honey
Yeah,
stand,
basically. I mean, like
but it's,
I mean, I know a lot of
it's
people call
a-
them like food pantries because people put them out in their front yard. Sometimes they put books in them. Sometimes they put food in them. Like canned goods, things like that and stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking about just building one of those,
honey
and
kiosk.
putting it out there and putting it in there. So
and
and
a self service.
yeah, kind of like that or whatever. So and hopefully I
Well, you
won't
can do
live to
like
regret it. Hopefully nobody will just grab all my honey and not pay.
Some people
So
call it a honey kiosk.
yeah.
So, hey, Joe, how
I
you
know
doing?
I know that JW
Hey.
got ripped off out there. He got cash plus some honey, but
Hey,
my son he put out.
I'm just checking in. Are we on chat or off chat?
We're still on chat,
Go
Carl.
on.
Holy shit! Where are we at? Like 6 hours or what?
No, I'm getting ready to shut down here
And
pretty
dog
soon.
years, we're at 6 hours.
But
All right.
he,
Well, I'm
he
happy I didn't say what I was thinking of saying. No offense.
you got to watch
Hold
your
on to
mouth
that.
there right now.
Hold on to that,
All right.
Carl.
Well,
But-
that's why I was.
Okay.
I was gonna go off here for a second. So
All right, we'll see you.
and I saw Joey here with this yellow striped shirt, and I just thought, oh, I want to go off.
What's that
Joey,
say?
are you flashing me or what?
Looks like nobody's safe tonight.
But use Venmo, if you know what that is.
I do. Yeah.
My son uses that with his straw and everything, and it's something I'm not real. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I don't know how it really works. So,
Mhm.
but that seems to be the thing. So anyway, it is. But you can do it that way, kind of an honor system thing. See how that works. You just have to start putting it out there. Don't back down on your price.
Mhm.
And
If
build
you're going to
your-
have as many colonies, as much honey as it looks like you're going to have, you're going to need to have a market somewhere. You
Yeah, I
gotta
mean,
figure
like I
that
said,
out.
I mean, I'm definitely going to start selling it at some point once I get enough going. Because, like I said, with that many colonies, I'm not going to be able to just sit on it for myself, obviously. And I don't want to give it away. I would like to make a little bit of money off of it, but at the same time, I think I'm going to be limited selling it out of my house. And again, I would have to be reasonably certain that I'm going to be able to make enough money out of it, to go to the trouble of having an inspector, setting up an area other than just extracting it in my kitchen.
So anyway,
So that somebody can come in and and do the inspection and everything like that and allow me to be able to sell it out. Then of course then I have to find a place outside the house to sell it.
Oh, you got
after that.
any church bazaars or something like that?
Right. I mean, there's stuff. I mean, there's things. I mean, events and things like that I could set it up and sell it at. But again, I mean, I really feel like it would have to be worth it to me. And then, so I'm just starting my market research on it kind of now. Well, this past summer I did and stuff, and which is really like what I originally said was I was shocked to find out, to see those people tell me that in my area, people were pushing back against $10.
Yeah.
So, and I think if they're pushing back against $10, I don't see how that would make it, make it worth it. But I did see in the Facebook group that these people in Philadelphia were saying, in the Philly area, they're selling it for $20 a pound, and they were saying they were selling a lot of it. And I was just like, well, I guess, I'm going to have to go to Philly to sell it then.
You have to, like
You
you
don't
say,
have
you're
to,
going to have to
Scott.
find your customer base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
You know,
people
there's
who are
those-
nagging over your prices. You don't want those people nagging. You want you.
Well, right.
You'll find
Yeah.
out.
You're looking for people who appreciate your product.
Yeah, right.
And that's what they come. They come here. Hey, you got the best taste honey I've ever had. Well, I says, you know, and I in previous years, it's like, well, you know, this is a lumber yard. You know, where do you get your honey from? I said, I'm the beekeeper. Well, where's your bees? I said, right up behind the barn there. Do you want to go up and look at them? I said, but don't get stung. And once that, you know, the word got out that, hey, you know, this is, you know, it isn't something that, you know, I'm buying in from someplace else or anything like that.
Right. Right.
And it's fresh, it's right out of the hive and all that stuff. And once that reputation gets out there and that knowledge gets out on, you know, from one talking to another,
Mm-hmm.
they appreciate the product.
Right.
And,
Yep.
and
Right.
they'll pay.
Hey, I'm probably the oldest one on here right now.
I maybe.
I'm pretty old.
I'm 68, and when I was a kid, me and my dad,
you got me beat.
Got
me
me.
and my dad used to go to Western Auto Store down the road. He was a good friend of my dad's. He used to sell a lot of fishing baits, bass fishing baits. And there was a man coming in there one time, and he had asked for a certain, it was real popular at that time, a certain artificial bait. He said, yeah, I got them. And he reached over on the shelf and handed it to him and showed it to him. He said, how much are they? He said, $4. He said, $4? I can go to so-and-so and get them for $3. He grabbed it back out of his hand, put it on the shelf. He said, go get it. He wouldn't even sell it to him after that. He made him go buy it for the $3.
Yeah.
Scott, do you live in an area where you could set up just to set up a table like out your front door and just like put some honey on there?
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably what I'm gonna do. You know, assuming I'm gonna get, you know, enough honey next year to you know, to sell. That's probably what I'll do. I'll probably set some up out there. You know, and I could probably rig up a camera or something like that, you know, if I really wanted to see, you know, if like, you know, just in case somebody, I mean, where I live, it's kind of a hit or miss, you know. I think that the people who would come by would probably be honorable enough, but you just never know who anybody is anymore, right? So, you know, you just never know who's gonna, you know. So I'm kind of nervous about it one way, you know, like part of me thinks maybe I should just do that. Other part of me thinks I should just make people come to the door. I mean, I don't know. So
yeah, I don't know. If you want people coming to your door just to you know, buy like a $5 bottle of honey, or, you know, because you know, you're gonna have probably, but by the time it's all said and done, you'll have different products, you know,
right,
different prices for them. So it's really not worth it to have somebody come to your door to buy a $10 item. I think, but
you can use
Darren's selling it.
You can use text. A lot of that I sell out of my front door is some text exchange, and then they Zelle me the money, and then I put it out on the porch in a bag with their name on it.
Okay.
I guess a system like that seems pretty
Philip,
good.
I just want to shoot somebody.
Do what, Carl?
Don't knock it, but I just want to kick somebody's ass.
I think it's time for you to go to bed, Carl.
No, I'm not dumping around it, but I want to kick somebody's ass.
Yeah, well, it's time to go.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream tonight. It's 11 o'clock.
We got to work this out with Carl. I might get beat up.